Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 3 of the VGVN2 Release Tournament number 2. My name is Dan Frodancho, and today I'll be joined by Mars and Nims Filipovic once again, so that way we can see who will be taking home the majority of the prize pool of $2,500 and an invite back to the third tournament in the series. Today we got two semifinals and the grand finals. We have Hyped versus Trump and Colento versus Ties. Nims, what do you think about today's matchups and how you've been enjoying the tournament as a whole?
Oh, I'm so excited for today. We had 2 great days of games. A lot has happened. Some plays were just sick with a sick outcome, like the Hybar Ragnaros. We had sick comebacks. We had some bad luck. We had some good luck, and above it all, we had a lot of skill from those skilled players who are one of the top players in the world. So this time we'll have the semifinals. Players will be playing this best of 7 matches. They are able to bring another deck to the fold. So we haven't seen all the decks from those players. They have a secret deck. Every one of them can bring another class. And here, well, those matchups are pretty cool. Colento versus Tyson Nell. 2 European players, top of the ladder, great players overall. And then Hyped versus Trump. The NA players were Hyped is one of the top ladder players from NA, and Trump, obviously super popular, a superstar with a lot of tournament experience and also very good scores. So yeah, I'm super hyped about those games, and I'm obviously rooting for my teammate Colento, but you never know, and I have to be objective here because all of those players are really good, and everybody has the same fair chance to actually get to the final.
Yeah, that's right. Don't forget that Trump himself also has good ladder standings. He was at number 2, I believe, in the top of the rankings earlier this season. So it's not like he's just a chump where he's easily just like, yeah, well, I'm just going to get invites and not really have any other accolades. The guy's been placing in the middle of tournaments. He's been getting third or fourth a lot. This might be his opportunity to break through and get a top 2 or even a win. And I think that would definitely shut up a lot of the haters. And I think it's a great opportunity for Trump to continue to be able to push through and start securing more of his place in the Hearthstone pro scene.
By the way, I think if Trump actually wins this tournament, he will be getting very close to the top 10 Gosu Gamers ranking. Right now, I feel he's 25th. So if he wins the semifinal and then he wins the final, he will be in top 10 or top 15 of the top world ranking players.
Cool. All right. Well, that's going to be a lot. There's a lot on the line here. Just not only just the pride and the money, but I guess Gosu Gamer rankings too, which is a cool tool to use. They're still figuring out all the rankings, so maybe it's not perfect of who's number 1 through 10, but it's a good general idea of consistency and performance. Like RDU number 1, without question, he's been performing extremely well in almost every single tournament, winning 2 in the past week alone. And we'll have a new champion. And I think all of these guys are going to be searching for their first tournament win. At least for the like a big high profile one. I don't think Colento, Ties, Hyped, or Trump has had a large profile win. They've won online cups like Zotax and Gosu cups in plenty. Colento obviously has won ladder. I guess he always wins ladder every single season.
Yeah.
So there's a lot on the line for these guys to just try to secure themselves as a tournament winner. And so we're leading off the series today, or leading off the day today, with Colento versus Ties, which will be the first one. Let's jump into the ban screen and figure out how these guys are going to prepare for the series. Don't forget, guys, as we get ready for our match ceremonies, you can enter for a chance to win a Zeus Mini PC. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see a link, or if you type giveaway in the chat, you can get information. And since you're the first few thousand people to kind of hear it today, you can go ahead and get the link before it just goes away and spam in the flood, and find out more information about VGVN, about the organization trying to fight.
Also, guys, remember that this is the second edition of the VGVN tournament.
For
Rodan, you're cutting out.
Oh, my apologies. Is everything okay?
Well, you're cutting out, so I will continue with the information that this is the second edition of the VGVN tournament, but remember that we have 2 open spots for the open qualifier, and there will be a third edition of this tournament, and we will have an open tournament next weekend. So you can go to the Liquid Harv site, and you can start registering. I'm not sure if the site is up now, but just bookmark the site if not, and you will be able to register for the open. Try your chances, try your luck. and prove your skill in the open tournament, because you might be the one person that actually qualifies for the VGVN number 3, where the 2 spots will be open for, I believe, 1 player from EU, 1 player for NA. So definitely try it. Definitely register. And I think we lost Froden, so just give us a couple of seconds, and Froden will be back in a minute. But yeah, just looking at this match, Colento versus Dice, they both banned Hunter. So again, a user-friendly and user-favorite profile with Hunter being banned from both sides. Colento bringing his custom druid, which is a Cloud9 Strifecrow Colento druid, designed and tested. And this is a formidable deck with a lot of low drops, with a lot of power, with those mid-range minions, and Defender of Argus really shining here. And I think Frodan is actually back. Frodan, are you here?
Yeah, sorry about that. I hope I didn't miss too much. Actually, the series doesn't look like it started yet, so looks like we're in a good spot. So can you fill me in on anything that's my screen's still loading here, Nim? So who's the bands looking like?
Okay, so I just talked about Hunter being banned, announced the open tournaments that will be next week that people can register to, and I briefly talked about the Druid, and now I'm looking at the Handlock from Thais, and this matchup might be interesting. I feel like Druid is disadvantaged against Handlock. A lot of taunts, a lot of removal, and the Druid will have to be really fast, and basically this Druid is kind of similar to Zoo in my mind. So Zoo basically had problems with Druid. If you don't get a very fast and explosive start, if you don't get a Savage Roar to be able to go through all the taunts and kill your opponent before he stabilizes, you might be in trouble. Sometimes even Keeper of the Grove doesn't help if there's 2 or 3 taunts, or just big minions that start trading with your minions. So I would have to give an edge to Tyson L in this first game of today's semifinals and final.
Yeah, I agree. I think handlock isn't very common in this tournament. Again, it's something that people have somewhat they recognize its strength, but not everyone brings it. They're bringing Warlock. They're mainly playing Zoo. And Tice, that could be one of his advantages. When you ban Hunter, everyone kind of unanimously agrees, as long as Shaman is not really in the mix, it's one of the best decks out there. So I think let's go into game number 1 and see if Tice can kind of take his advantage of the Druid matchup, or will Colento be able to sneak in one of those wins with this powerful Druid deck that we've been seeing?
I'm excited. I really wanted to see this Druid, and yesterday we only had control versus control. So now we can see how it works. And Colento, this start is definitely something that he didn't want to see. He missed all the 2 drops. So it's super slow actually. It couldn't be worse. Oh, there is a 2 drop, so it's a very nice top deck for Colento. But still, no coin. Curve is nice, but I will have to see if it works versus Handlock. On the other hand, Handlock doesn't have Mountain Giant or Twilight Drake, so it might be important. He has double Shadow Flame, which is pretty good against the minion deck.
Yeah, neither player really seems to have that great of a start, at least until Colento picked up Haunted Creeper. Now he curves out pretty decently, and he still has Keeper of the Grove for the Twilight Drake, so he's got some answers early on. I don't believe this deck runs a big game Hunter, correct, Nip? So you're a little bit more vulnerable to the Giant starts, but still, if you build up the board, maybe you can kind of remove it effectively, and you still have many Death Rattle minions.
Also like Lothar, by the way. Lothar might be a key card when you actually overextend and your opponent is not able to clear, and he's waiting for the clear next turn. You play Lothar and you actually steal them, and you are able to win next turn. Lothar is kind of giving you 2 turns, because you play Lothar and your opponent is not able to clear, and you attack that turn. And then, you play Lothar, so you're free to attack, and then your opponent is not able to clear, so you play another card, and you're able to attack again without the clear.
Wow, how about this? Yeah, you get Shay of next, Rammus. It's a little bit tricky because I don't believe it'll be powerful enough to survive Hellfire if it comes out on turn 4, right, for Ties? So Colento's making sure to try to, well, let's see what you can do with it. But the good news is that Twilight Drake seems to be the only threat inside of Ties' hand, and he has Keeper of the Grove already prepared.
Yeah, it looks like a good start for Colento. He will be able to deal with the Twilight Drake, but now Thais has to decide if he really wants to play Twilight Drake and just play into this Keeper of the Grove. Thijs has to make an assessment. What is the chance that there is Keeper of the Grove, and what happens if I play it, if it gets silenced and attacked by a spider? What is my follow-up play on turn 5?
Well, nothing at the moment. He's only got taunt givers and combo pieces, so it's still gonna be quite tricky. I like the patience from Thijs, realizing like, you know what, I just gotta have to life tap, and he's using his coin even. That's how desperate he was to get to a 4-drop against Druid. He recognizes the importance of it. But now Kalento's thinking about whether or not he should hold on to Shade and X Rammus. Do you believe it's good to hold here, or do you think getting in that damage now is important as the aggressive Druid deck?
Well, I feel like you can attack, because even if there is Hellfire, you get wiped, and it's going to be destroyed. If there is a Soulfire, you're probably fine with it, and Soulfire will destroy it anyway next turn. So I would take the gamble as well and attack.
All right, well, Thijs drops the Twilight Drake, as powerful as can be, but Kalento does have the response, although he did lose his strongest minion. So it seems like his aggression has somewhat halted. He picks up an Innervate, which allows him to hit combo that much earlier if he's able to piece it together, which could be the case here.
It will also allow him to actually Wrath if he wants to. Not sure if it's a good play, but yeah, I think it's actually better to keep it, to be able to play something on those power turns, to be able to play the combo, or maybe Lothep with something else.
Well, Thijs' hand's still not exciting. He only has Ancient Watcher. Molten Giant is still a few points out of range. And this is going to give Kalento a small win of opportunity. In fact, if he top decks Savage Roar, I was wondering if he could win right here.
Oh my god, a second Innervate. Now he can play Lothep. This is exactly what we were talking about. If he plays Lothep here, then there is no way for the Shadow Flame to be played. So this Watcher can be kind of ignored. Normally he would have to clear this because of the Shadow Flame. But now if you play Lothep, you're fine. It's there is no way the Shadow Flame will be played. The Ancient Watcher can be taunted, but then you have a Lothep on board.
Yeah, you know, I was actually kind of counting up, and if Kalento did top deck Savage Roar, that was game. If he had, because he had Innervate. Something that Thijs necessarily can't just calculate, because he realizes his opponent is still unlimited mana, but you're not sure how many cards you're going to be playing around specifically. So Thijs feels like he's kind of safe, but he's starting to hit critical danger zones. How far does Kalento push Thijs down the HP bar, though?
Well, if he goes in, I guess he can go in all in.
Ooh, this is already a situation where he can go for Molten Giant and Taunters. Putting him down to 13 gives the ability for one Molten Giant and Taunt and set up 13 points of defense.
That swipe is so important as well. Because if he gets that's a lot of damage. Also, it's a direct damage spell that can actually reach out to deal some damage to Warlock if needed. Yeah, Savage Roar would be best.
People might say like, Kalento, why'd you give him the ability to use Molten Giant and Taunt? But just keep in mind how much power he has. He's got 10, 11 on the board plus swipe on from the hand. So if his opponent had a worst case scenario where it was like only one taunter, he could still push through and potentially draw into like Druid the Claw to end the game. So he's just trying to pick a comfortable medium where he's not pushing him too far down, but at the same time threatening with just what's on the board to just kill to end the game.
Harvest Golem is a blank. This is not a card he wanted to draw. Now he has to decide how to deal with the board.
Yes, probably has a Wrath for one, do you think, to draw another card?
I'm not sure. Maybe Wrath for free into Molten Giant might be better. Just swipe the Molten, Wrath Molten, attack it with a Spider, then kill the 4/5 with Lothep, and attack for 5 face. Leave your opponent at 8, and also play the Harvest Golem.
I guess that's the most aggressive approach. I'm trying to think if there's any opportunity. I'm pretty sure Kalento is too, of wrathing for one, picking up something like if he gets Keeper of the Grove or he gets Savage Roar. You have to kind of calculate all the possibilities, but Wrath is most likely going to be included in this turn in some capacity.
Well, a good thing is that even if he wraps for one, he can still use Swipe, and he has double Innervate, so he will be able to play something for 5 mana, like if he gets rid of the Claw.
All right, well, he is going for Wrathing for 3, trying to just go for the guarantee value. And then, oh, almost kind of rearranging him properly, but Colento had to hurry because he is out of time. He's got double Innervate, so I feel like pushing out Harvest Golem is the smartest play here. Because most likely, whatever you top deck, you're going to be able to play that turn anyways.
I also like that he killed the minion. You want to get rid of the minions from board, just in case of the Power Overwhelming and Shadow Flame.
All right, speaking of Shadow Flame, it's a little bit tricky because of these Harvest Golems. In fact, it's still going to be a little messy, no matter how he kind of coins it.
Yeah, Dice will have to play a minion. Then he will have to clear. And even if he clears, he still gets the Harvest Golem tokens. The Colento has one scary card in hand. It can be anything.
Yeah, it can even be Innervate.
Possibly. If he gets Ancient of Lore, that card is actually not bad.
That card is probably the best case scenario, other than just a game-ending damage like Saboteur.
Shields up.
And Tyze realizes the gravity situation. He simply can die to any card that's being top decked. Wipe off the top is not enough damage, but
That's
it's still
8.
enough to address the board.
Wait, that's he will be at 8 and he can deal 4, 5, 6 and leave. Oh, that's not a bad thing. He can actually get Dice to 2 points of damage. Or just clear as well. Deny the life tap. Like swipe face, then attack the 3/3 with a 2/4. And attack the face for 5 damage. But Colento really wants to clear. Also, the turn that Dice had without anything impressive is a big sign like, hey, I don't have a second Molten Giant, and I actually have a problem. I can't clear here.
Yeah, because the Harvest Golem Death Rattles provide such an annoyance, and I like that Colento opted to lose a little bit of damage, but keep his Keeper of the Grove healthy while his Harvest Golem alive, so that way he doesn't have to sacrifice the Death Rattle effects whatsoever and leave it complicated, because there's going to be 5 damage left over if he goes for a Shadow Form play.
By the way, I think that's actually it. Wait, if he uses Siphon
Souls on the Keeper of the Grove, he's going to go to 8, and his opponent will have 6 damage, so there's still an opportunity to. I think Tice also realizes that this deck is about pushing out everything, so if he has like 1 card left and he hasn't used it, I think you would suspect something like Innervate.
Siphon Soul is so weird, right? It's you just kill 1 minion, you heal 3, but you still face this board. Going Goose is not gonna make it. But Colento is in such a good position here.
Yep. No life taps.
No more life taps.
Unless Tice is able to pick up a heal of some sort.
Those Harvest Golems, he can't even clear effectively. Normally Leroy Shadow Flame is so good.
He needs a Molten Giant off the top here.
That's it. Iron Beak is not doing it.
No, and I don't think he can set up a wall of taunts, or he can only set up 1 taunter. And it's a Lotheb, so if Lotheb goes for the taunt, it'll be 6 points, and you can just push through with these creatures and hero power him down. No matter how you kind of look at it, it seems like Tice is in an unwinnable spot here.
Yeah, he's dead on board. Like, he doesn't even have to know what card there is in Colento's hand. Thinking if there is any combination that can play, just have to make sure.
It's really the Harvest Golem's Death Rattle that's providing such a problem. He can't, like, Owl Shadow Flame. He can't Leroy attack, kill anything in Shadow Flame. He can't set up a wall of taunts. Everything just provides such a nuisance. And Colento just may have been able to squeeze by this game. Looks like Tice's handlock has been dropped, despite the fact that on paper, the Druid struggles to get past these giant concerts.
Yeah, but again, we talked about it as well. This deck, even if it has 80% win rate against this Druid.
Oh, the last card that Tice life tapped for was a Molten Giant. He would have been able to Molten Giant, Defender of Argus, and then Faceless Manipulator that turn if he drew it. Tice is pretty unlucky, man.
Druid continues to win. Oh yeah, this is very unlucky. And right now it will be Druids versus Druid mirror match. But it's not really a mirror match because Dice is playing a control with Wild Growths. And I really wonder if he's going to draw those Wild Growths this time. In this match, in this game.
All right, well, people say that the ramp druid, the slower druid, should be able to beat the faster druid if you can get out ahead of them with taunts, and they just can't keep pushing past it. They don't even have Black Knight in this deck, so Kalento has to just use brute minion on minion trading, or else have spells / silence to push through these taunts. Game number 2 is about to begin between Kalento and Tice. Off to a good start for the Cloud9 member, and his Druid deck, once again, the secret tech from Cloud9, has been the one dominating recently, as I believe this deck has won 7 or 8 games for Kalento this tournament so far.
And Colento actually gets a coin and Harvest Golem Innervate. This is a pretty good start. I wonder if he will get Shade of Naxxramas. That will be funny. Shade of Naxxramas Innervated on turn 1, then Harvest Golem turn 2 with a coin. He didn't get it.
But Tice has Wild Growth, so he has stuff to do, and that is really important. That was the first time that we've seen Tice get an important card like this, so that way he can curve out. If he picks up a 5-drop, then it seems like his turns 3 to 5 will have a very good implication with Senjin, 5-drop, Cairn. But now with Innervate out on the deck and able to kind of put in pressure, you have to be very mindful because you're going to be taking a lot of damage. Even if a Harvest Golem gets 3 or 4 attacks in, you're all of a sudden always afraid of combo.
Yeah, but still, for Tice it looks pretty good. He got that Wild Growth. He has a Senjin for his turn 3. For turn 4 he has another Senjin. And then he has a Cairn that he will be able to play on turn 5. So he will be throwing all those good minions, and he even picks a Swipe.
Yeah, Swipe is surprisingly useful against a lot of the faster druids because of the lower HP, and especially without Violet Teachers and Power of the Wilds anymore, and they just seem to be reliant on Defender of Argus. If you can kind of pick a time where you can pick the Swipe, it's a lot more effective than the normal druid matchup. Because usually in mid-range druid, they have so many 5-health creatures and above, like Ancient of Lore, Yetis, Druid of the Claws, that Swipe is kind of useless.
Colento decides to use Keeper of the Grove and kill the Senjin, which is a good decision. But on the other hand, he won't have many good answers for the other taunts. There is one Senjin in Thai's hand, but in his deck there is a lot of taunts with Druid of the Claws and Ancient of War. And some of those cards might just be a wall for Colento that he won't be able to go through.
This is an opportunity for Tice to leverage something like Swipe and kill off 2 minions.
Yeah,
Be afraid of something like Defender of Argus.
I think Swipe is actually cool. You attack into Harvest Golem and then Swipe. Or do you just play a second Senjin? That's also fine. And you still can attack into the Harvest Golem.
Well, most likely you're going to kill off one of the 1/2s rather than set up a way for your opponent to actually get a good swipe on you. You don't want the opposite to happen. But I understand what you're saying. Like, if you go for the swipe here, then Cairn becomes a lot less contested. And that way, it's not as simple as just removing Cairn off the board as soon as he's played. But I think this Senjin effectively weakens the board enough so that way, in case of emergency, he can swipe.
Yeah, this swipe is pretty good for Colento. He was able to clear those Senjins. Even going to attack into the Senjin now.
But it's still inefficient. The swipe by itself didn't kill anything. And that's what swipe normally does in this matchup. It's kind of usually useless. But against a faster druid deck like this, Tice, his swipe is going to be way more powerful.
But do you really swipe here?
I think Cairn is much better than swipe just because he can't deal with it whatsoever. Oh, unless he draws Keeper of the Grove. But even then, he's still a 4/5 body out there.
Yeah, another question is for Colento, do you play Druid of the Claw as a taunt? Because you can really hit a Black Knight on the other side. But playing it as a charger, it's so weird.
Well, Charger is playing to what you have in hand, right? You have Force of Nature, and you'd be putting him down to 17 health. But you know this is a ramp druid. He's played Wild Growth. He's played lots of Taunters already, 2 Senjins and Cairn. So you're reading that you're most likely not going to be able to pull off the Force of Nature combo. I don't know, but at
Yeah.
the same time, if you play Taunt, you're playing directly into his hands as well, right? Like these decks run Black Knight. They run opportunities to play the slow game. So I think Kolento has to put it in
Also, he
charge
couldn't
here.
play Keeper of the Grove because he has to be afraid of the Ancient of War. And if Ancient of War is being dropped, he will have to silence it.
I can understand the concept of a stick.
I think Frodan, we are losing you again. I can't hear you. So he decides to drop Kern, which is a pretty good card, and Thijs will have to deal with it somehow. The question is if there is a good way to deal with Kern. Oh, and we lost Frodan, unfortunately. The thing about Druid of the Claw is, again, Thijs might be afraid of the Black Knight. He doesn't have the full list that Kolento is playing. So you never know what will happen. And now, is he going to clear Kern? He has to. Well, he is a slow Druid, so he's probably fine with just clearing the board, stabilizing, and he was able to deal a couple of points of damage, which is important. He got another Wild Growth, which is a useless card. Till he reaches turn 10, he will be able to cycle cards. What are the options that Kolento can use in here? Harvest Golem, Wrath, and Shapeshift. Kill the Druid. Both of the players are pretty dry with regards to their hand sizes. So they are in a top deck mode. And right now Thijs has no taunts, which creates a good situation for Kolento because he will be able to push with more damage. And there is Engine of War. But Kolento was patiently waiting with that Keeper of the Grove to be able to silence it. Uproot is an option as well. The Aggro Druid is not really running BGH, so now Thijs has to decide if he wants to defend or if he wants to play to win. And I think 5-10 is actually better. Because it's still a very formidable minion that Kolento will have trouble with. And on the other hand, you stop your opponent from being able to attack and deal more points of damage to you.
All right, I'm back, Nimsh.
Okay, welcome back.
Yeah, it was weird is that I could still see everything that's going on, but just for some reason I kept getting kicked off the server. But I've seen everything that goes on, and it seems like Kolento is now in desperation mode, but Thijs needs to pick up another taunter here in order to stabilize. But it seems like if he can just pick up 1 or 2 more big taunts, I think he's out of the woods, and that'll really seal the deal unless Kolento has something like Black Knight.
Well, Kolento is not running Black Knight, so Kolento will really want to deal a couple of more points of damage and then draw into Savage Roar.
This is pretty sick. Like, you just go for the Ragnaros as the clock, you go for the guaranteed board clear, and then there's no way for your opponent to kill you from 16 HP with just 2 cards.
Yeah, even if he top decks Savage Roar, that's it. So Ragnaros is a great card in here. You just clear, deal 8 points of damage, and set up yourself for a win next turn.
Is he afraid of BGH? Wow.
Like, or maybe Faceless? Like, interesting.
Okay. You know, it's the concept that don't play something. Yeah, Faceless is also a possibility. It's don't play something if you can't kill it yourself. Because if the Ragnaros went the opposite direction, he'd actually be in such big trouble. And this still sets up for lethal next turn anyways. All right, Kolento needs to draw something here. Picks up Shaded next Rammus.
Might have to clear with Force of Nature.
I think you almost certainly have to. There's too many ways to die just from the 9 or 10 damage at least guaranteed from what's on the board.
Well, it looks pretty bad for Colento, and this is something what happens in this matchup, aggro versus taunt. If aggro is not able to push with damage early and just finish off with combo, the taunt druid and like ramp druid has so much quality in the cards. It's like you get a card, and instead of just getting a meek harvest golem, you get a Ragnaros, you get Ancient of War, Ancient of Lore, Karen, Sylvanas. You have all those big cards. I'm not even sure if he's running Sylvanas, but still, you have so many quality minions that you get when in top deck mode, instead of just like haunted creepers and small guys. But it's on the other hand, this deck really depends on getting those wild growths early. And this time, Thijs was able to get all the cards he needed, and the deck worked as designed. And he gets a win over Colento's Druid. So right now, the series is tied 1-1, and Colento will have to pick another deck.
All right, well, that's kind of what we expected to see with this Druid mirror matching up. Well, not really mirror. It was a Druid class mirror, but the decks didn't line up directly. Colento still has several options at his disposal, and he's opting to go for Shaman. It makes sense. Shaman has a lot of good value cards with Hex against the big threats, and you can utilize the board with constant toteming and Defender of Argus to make Druid's lack of AoE very, very vulnerable to them. And also, Handlock's already out of the mix. You've already defeated it. So it's not like you're going to be doing Shaman for Handlock. I think it's a strong pick.
Yeah, I also like to mention that players, I said it in the beginning, but players actually brought new decks as well. So from Colento, we're seeing Paladin, which he wasn't using on day one, and Thijs actually brought a Rogue deck. So those players also have those classes, and this is a best of 7 series. So one of them will have to win 4 games at least. And yeah, Shaman versus Druid, a cool matchup. Both very stable decks. Both decks that we knew pre Nexramas. So I guess without further ado, we can actually jump to the game and see how it unfolds.
All right, yeah, the best of 7 has now turned into a best of 5. Shaman versus Druid coming up. Colento is going to be bringing his Shaman deck, which is very Death Rattle heavy. And yet, it pains me just throwing one Undertaker there, and then all of a sudden you have another threat that's sort of removal bait. Sometimes it grows to the point where people have to like swipe, you know, the Undertaker in order to remove it, and then all of a sudden it's one less swipe that has to be used on another premium card like Fire Elemental.
Certainly, Undertaker is a pretty cool card, and there's so much Defralo cards that Undertaker almost always gets value in a Shaman deck. But here, he got the Harvest Golem, he got the Feral Spirits and Flametongue Totem, so he will be able to deal a lot of damage early. On the other hand, Thijs didn't get the Wild Growth again.
Yeah, you know, you can't get it every single time, but when you're able to kind of collect a hand like you do right now, I don't think you're necessarily complaining. He also has the coin, so at least that's some way to kind of fix your curve. The most important thing about Wild Growth is to have the additional mana, because oftentimes as a Druid player, your mana curve sometimes gets a little wonky with the 5s and 7s. So it's important that you're able to have the extra mana to play with. And now Colento's able to kind of utilize his Flametongue Totem and get some really good trades. This is what you need to do early on, so that way you don't have to use Hex unnecessarily.
Well, but on the other hand, Thijs actually has a Silence in form of a Keeper of the Grove, so silence the Totem, get a pretty good 2-4, and then he will have a follow-up on turn 5 with Druid of the Claw. Turn 6 is kind of vague for now, but then turn 7 and turn 8 seems pretty good. And on Colento's side, he will be just trying to develop the board. Basically, this matchup is about the board, where Druid versus Druid was more about if he's going to rush me, if I'm going to defend. This one is all about the board position. I need to kill his minions. I need to deny Shaman having any board position, because if Shaman does have a board position, it becomes really dangerous really fast.
Colento took a few seconds here to think about positioning between Haunted Creeper and Harvest Golem. Is there anything that you're specifically looking for, Nimsh, when he's thinking about this positioning?
Well, the thing is, like when you're using hero power, the totems are always being placed on the right. So if you think about placing another possible Flametongue Totem in the middle, it's good to have at least 2 minions on the left and 2 minions on the right. And the positioning thing is that a lot of players actually don't pay attention to this. They just make a hasty minion drop, and it's pretty important in those decks with buffs like Shaman, like Zoo as well. So this is another skill that's really important, and I think that to keep in mind when we are playing in those tournaments on a high level.
Yeah, one thing I like about Haunted Creeper on the far left is that it does spawn 2 bodies as opposed to Harvest Golem's 1. So if you have an opportunity to slide in Defender Vargas and Flame Tongue Totems eventually, you'll have like the damage golem will die before the other 2 ones. So that way you have a little bit of easy ability to slide in. But those are just small things that might come to play. It probably will never have impact in this game, but you never know. That's why Kalento's setting himself up for success. Druid the Claw in taunt mode seems to be the most logical. There's nothing worth using Faceless on. And Wrath still feels pretty weak with a board full of Death Rattle minions. So it's going to go back to Kalento, where he has a couple of options at his disposal here to kind of go for removal or to kind of develop this Fire Elemental. But he's going to have to sacrifice some of his minions.
Also, he has to play around swipe a bit, because if he plays Fire Elemental and targets the 4/6, then he needs to finish it off with 3 points of damage. And if he uses Harvest Golem and Haunted Creeper, then he is open to swipe. So he decides to use his Feral Spirit. On the other hand, if it's a tricky thing, because if he uses Feral Spirit and he's out of taunts, and swipe is still a very nice card that will be able to kill those spiders and the Fire Elemental, followed up by the attack. Or just maybe a hero power. But there is no swipe in Ty's hand, so Kalento's gamble kind of pays off. On the other hand, Thais will be able to Wrath the Elemental and attack it with a 2/4. But that would be it.
Yeah, this is something that, again, Shaman wants to really push and exploit the weakness of Druid. The lack of potent AoE outside of swipe. And the massive board clears are very difficult, which is why it's important for Kalento to get ahead on board. Even if his card quality per card is not as powerful, like in terms of pound for pound, like Ancient of War and Ragnaros and Cairn and Sylvanas and all these other cards. It's the idea that these smaller minions makes it really difficult, so that way you can use Hex and Flame Tongue Totems and other ways, Defender of Argus, that way you can pick apart the trades. And also, you still have Burst. Like, Kalento has a lot of damage in his deck with Doom Hammers and Alakirs.
By the way, this was such a painful turn. Like, there was nothing good you could do. Playing a Sludge Belcher was suboptimal. This Faceless into Fire Elemental is not that good as well, because you're open to Hex, and, well, that was really a painful decision that Dice had to make, because you had to do something. Just Wrath and attack maybe was the best, maybe not, it's hard to say, but definitely a painful turn. He will be able to get back to the game on turn 7. He might be happy that one Hex is actually out of the way, but hey, there is another Hex in Kalento's hand, so he might be in a very bad position after this turn. Wait, is it actually lethal here?
He's in dangerous waters just because, again, Shaman can use cheap removal.
And that's then 6, 9, 10, 12, plus 2, 14. Very close to lethal.
He's a little few points off of damage here. Lento also can continue to build the board. And again, just stack the health so that way Druid can't easily remove.
Oh, he can deal 14 points of damage. That's always good. And how Druid will be able to heal and get back. Like, Druid will have to not only heal himself, but also clear the board where you have a Defrauded minion. So again, this Harvest Golem, whatever happens.
Making it so difficult so that way even Force of Nature, Savage Roar can't be a clear. And now Kalento has a lot of ways to lethal off the top, even if his board gets wiped. Like things like a second Fire Elemental, Lightning Bolt, any ways to do direct damage. Tice looks like his Shaman or his Druid deck's going to be taken down by the Shaman unless he's able to get something massive off the Wrath, which it doesn't look like it is. Lotheb is what he's drawn.
By the way, in those moments I really hate playing Druid, because you're facing a really formidable board, and what you are able to do is only just play one minion each turn. It's a strong minion, sure, but it's just one card each turn, and Shaman is just spawning the board with all those small guys that are hard to remove. So this is the moment where Druid actually is falling behind.
All right. Well, now Tice will turn to his Miracle Rogue, which just seems like these guys have a big counter field left inside their preparations. Like that's kind of what you do with the 4 decks you bring. They're good against all kinds of classes. You want to have at least 2 answers per class as a general rule of thumb. That way, if the first one dies to like an unexpected bad percentage and a bad draw, you have another way to answer it. Miracle Rogue against Shaman. You have a lot of targets to kind of trigger some of the minions, but you still need to draw those AoE cards like Blade Flurry sometimes because the board gets too strong with Feral Spirits. Interesting inclusion that Tice has chosen to adopt the RDU philosophy of putting Shade of Next Rammus inside of his Miracle Rogue deck. What do you think, Nibs?
Yeah, I think it's a cool card. It's testing new cards and another card that can actually do a lot of damage. And with the conceal, you can kind of hide it again. So basically, in Miracle Rogue, 3-drops are really good if you get them early. And Shade of Naxxramas seems like a card that actually fits the curve and fits the idea of the deck, because you can either use it as a removal card, like trading into minions, or if unanswered, it can be a really good damage dealer. So I would try it in my Miracle Rogue as well. The important fact is also he's not playing Assassin's Blade, which is a pretty good call with a lot of Harrison Jones being played in the control metagame. He is not playing Cold Blood as well, so that shade is in Cold Blood. He's only playing one Fan of Knives, might be important versus Shaman, but we discussed this matchup in a lot of detail. It's basically about getting that Auctioneer or not getting that Auctioneer. If he gets an Auctioneer, he might actually win with all the options. But if he doesn't get an Auctioneer, he will certainly lose. The thing is also how bursty the opening of Kolento will be if he is able to just rush dice before he even gets to turn 6. So it will be certainly an interesting match to see how those players, what strategies they will use, and what cards they will get in the beginning, and what are the mulligan decisions on their side.
All right, game number 4. Kolento is up 2-1, and Tice will have to respond once again. It's been tit for tat so far, but Miracle Rogue, I can't think of a better deck that's left in his arsenal to be able to face off against a Shaman. Let's jump to the board and see the opening hands. Tice is going to be going first. He's willing to throw away Blade Flurry, excuse me. Man, Artosis. He's willing to throw away Blade Flurry in order to kind of get this Gadget Sands or other cards early on.
Gadget Sand
really
is
interesting
key.
keep.
Gadget Sand is really a key card in this matchup. You need Gadget Sand. He didn't get it, but his decision to like throw everything away, because even if you get Blade Flurry and you don't get a Gadget Sand, you will still lose in the long run. Even though you will be able to clear maybe once. Well, Blade Flurry alone isn't good as well. You need the Deadly Poison. So I agree with trying to fish for the Gadget Sand. Right now his hand looks pretty bad with only Deadly Poison, but no 3-drops, no Gadget Sand. He will be able to draw a couple of cards with Shiv, but if he doesn't get that Gadget Sand, he will be in trouble. On the other hand, Kolento is having a pretty good start, a lot of damage potential, a lot of early minions that will be able to just stick on the board. So right now I have to give an edge to Kolento again with the current cards.
I have to kind of agree. If he picks up Doomhammer, then all of a sudden Tice is going to be in a very bad spot because he can't keep up with the removal. There's lots of Death Rattle, so that way removal is going to be a little bit harder to kind of piece together. Like, you need a Deadly Poison and Shiv, but unfortunately Tice actually attacked with his weapon, so he can't actually squeeze all that in without giving up a charge, or unless he gets backstabbed. But even then, all these things are extra card or 2 in order to remove everything fully. And then this allows Shaman to continue to pressure the board, especially if Kolento has ways to draw into more cards with Gnomish Inventor.
By the way, it's hilarious that actually Tice's bad hand is making a trouble for Kolento. His play of Nerubian Egg was specifically to be able to remove a 3-drop with this Nerubian Egg and a Rogue Biter weapon. But because Tice has a really bad hand and he didn't get any 3-drops, he's now denying Kolento a possibility to actually like remove the egg and get a 4 from Nerubian. So because of that play, Kolento has a bit slower start.
Yeah, and I would think this is actually a pretty significant error, that Tice didn't account for the possibility of having a Harvest Golem to deal with early on. Because now he's taken 2 damage extra, and the Harvest Golem will still be whacking away before Tice will be able to drop anything. Because most likely his next turn wants to include something like Azure Drake, which means This Harvest Golem is most likely going to do 6 damage total at least, and that could be a difference maker with when you have cards like Flame Tongue and Rockbiter and you pair together Doomhammer, that gives Shaman the opportunity to push in for damage. So this could end up betraying Tice, the fact that he attacked that one extra time on turn 2.
Kalento's thinking about Numbish Inventor or just extending his board with Flame Tongue Totem and Haunted Creeper. I like the play of a 2/4 Numbish Inventor because he really has a very good curve and he can use that Flame Tongue as a burst card at some point. Against this Azure Drake, that Flame Tongue Totem will be splendid.
Oh, certainly. Although I would have to think that you still want to make your board a little bit resilient. So would you pop the Nerubian? Or would you use your Harvest Golem here? I think you probably use the Harvest Golem body, because then you still have the resistance against AoE, huh?
Yeah, that Nerubian Egg, even though it wasn't removed in the beginning, right now serves as a cool card that will be able to turn into this Nerubian. So I would certainly use the Harvest Golem. But do you really use the Flame Tongue now? Because you can also play. Well, there's other possible plays. So you can play Fire Elemental with the coin. You can play Sludge Belcher. You can play the Flame Tongue. Sludge Belcher and coin something. So.
Ooh. It seems like Kalento wants to pop the egg as a priority and make it a little difficult. He is taking spell power off, so it's gonna need a Eviscerate at least to take this off. It's not like a spell power with Blade Fury and Deadly Poison can remove everything. And he uses opportunity to develop Haunted Creeper, which is again making it very resistant to AoE, so it's a good compromise here.
Yeah, it's a good decision, but on the other hand, Thais has really a bad hand. No Gadget-san gives him no opportunity to be able to win. And even without Gadget-san, he doesn't have Leroy, he doesn't have any burst potential. So what Thais is doing right now, he's trying to survive. And this is not something that Miracle Rogue should be doing. This is not a valid strategy. Just trying not to lose instead of trying to win. But he just didn't get the cards that are useful here. I mean, he can clear the board kind of with the Blade Flurry. But still, he is in a really weird spot. Just using those cards now and giving a Shaman the opportunity to still deal damage and develop his board.
I think if you kind of target the big source of damage, which is the Flame Tongue Totem, you still have a few turns to kind of do this if you push out your Farseers. But it also is said to say that if he has something like Lightning Storm, then you're back at square one and you're still taking a lot of damage from this Nerubian. So it seems like Tice is going to line up for a Blade Flurry play. But he's using so many of his spells. He only has Preparation and Conceal left, but he still needs to get that Gadget-san.
Yeah, no, Gadget-san is the only option to win. Even if he gets a Leroy, he has no burst potential. He needs that Gadget-san to be able to use Conceal and Preparation and Sap to the good effect. Like right now, if he gets it at this moment, that would be a pretty nice turn. But if he doesn't get it, if he gets a blank, he's in a pretty bad spot.
By the way, guess what? This Harvest Golem is still haunting Tice. It's been attacking him since turn 3 and sneaking in that damage. He should have been able to kill it with that Deadly Poison Shiv a while ago. But I guess it's something to say where maybe he wouldn't be able to go for the Blade Flurry play. So who knows? Regardless, he's taken a lot of damage and he's going to have to heal up a little bit. The Sludge Belcher is an interesting choice because it's less damage, but it's a more stable board. And that would be a Fire Elemental. And you can answer one of the 3 health minions that Miracle Rogue often brings, like Farseer or SI7.
Yeah, the Sludge Belcher was pretty key. And using Sap on that Sludge Belcher is so sad. Like, basically you want to use Sap to gain tempo, or to be able to push through with your Leroy after you sap something. And here, the Fire Elemental is just going to wreck this board. Tice doesn't even have a way to answer it right now.
Well, he's got an Energy Drake number 2. Just has to pick up a Eviscerate and he can stabilize once again. Ooh. Sapping a Fire Elemental also feels pretty poor.
Well, in this spot for sure. Sometimes you can do it and you get like an extra turn that you are able to use to push with damage. But here, it's not doing much. Can't even weapon up.
Still searching for Gadgetzan, but Tice looks like he's running out of answers. Kolento picks up more ways to deal with creatures, and now he can start using removal while putting out threats.
And now Kolento knows that this such Belcher will not get sapped. And to deal with it, you have to deal like 7 points of damage being Miracle Rogue. This is a lot. Gets Shade of Naxxramas, which is a nice curve with SA7 and Farseer, but it just opens him up for the Lightning Storm. He's in such bad position here. It's just incredible.
Man, Tice, again, I have to kind of feel a little bad for the guy. It feels like the tournament, whenever he needs certain things, it just hasn't been falling his way. A lot of decks haven't been operating at optimal capacity. Like his Molten Giant's coming a little bit late. Grommash at the very bottom of his deck at the last card. Gadgetzan avoiding him even though he's 16 cards deep. Now 17. Lightning Storm is going to be able to do a lot of damage, potentially even go for a full clear.
Oh, and he doesn't hit at all. It's Kolento a bit unlucky with the hit, but still he has such an advantage. Card advantage, board advantage.
Whoa, there we go.
The Gadgetzan, finally the Gadgetzan comes. Wait, maybe this will actually work.
Well, it needs some spells like Fan of Knives, Shiv would also be nice, but I think he already had 2 Shivs. So there's not many ways you can kind of climb back up in the card count. He wants a way to guarantee to draw some cards next turn.
But I think he needs like Eviscerates or Fan of Knives. But this is pretty risky. I think you don't have to play preparation here. You just weapon up.
Yeah, preparation effectively does the same thing this turn as next turn. It's just that you get a card now as opposed to later.
Oh my god.
Shadow Step.
Of course.
I mean, your preparation if for the hope that you can get some way to remove. But Tice loses that preparation, and now
I feel like Tice
Kolento
is
has
actually
the board.
I feel like Tice is actually out. Wait, is it lethal? This is 12, 13, not yet. Wait, 13?
So he's got
16.
Lightning Bolt, so that's 16 damage.
So not yet, but still, Tice is like out of cards. He used double sap. He used Blade Flurry, 1 Deadly Poison. He used Farseers. He used SI7. It seems like he used all the cards that are mid game that can do something. Right now, I feel like in his deck there is only second Shadow Step and Leroy. Obviously, he has like Fan of Knives and some other cards, but those are not the cards that can really turn around the situation.
Tice can't even really utilize. Oh man, he doesn't even pick up another spell. Gadgetzan has arrived, but Tice's deck has been pretty useless. He has to use Shadow Step on the Leroy, or sorry, not the Leroy, on the Van Cleef, and now he picks up Leroy.
That's
no spells.
Gadgetzan is actually useless. This is even more sad than it was before. He finally got a Gadgetzan, and now he can't even use it to draw cards.
All right, game 4 will go to Kolento, and he jumps out to a very important 3-1 lead at a decisive point of the series. Tice will have to rely on his Warrior deck against Shaman, and you know that's going to be a little bit tough because we haven't seen Warriors do very well against Shaman this entire tournament so far. But who knows? Maybe he's able to kind of get some value off his late game legendaries. It's going to be tricky though because again, Shaman's able to build the board so effectively. And Kolento's been playing it pretty masterfully. I don't feel like I've seen any noticeable mistakes on his end.
And rightfully so. Shaman has a good matchup versus Warrior. Even though Warrior has that Brawl, you don't always draw it. And even if you Brawl, Shaman is playing around it. So after the Brawl, he's still playing the second Feral Spirit, and he still has good cards. Shaman has a nice draw. Has a lot of sticky minions that are hard to deal with. Haunted Creepers and Ribbon Eggs. So I will definitely give an edge to Kolento. But we've seen Tice playing his Warrior really well. He knows the deck. He knows how to play it. He knows this matchup. I'm sure he's not really happy having his Warrior as his last deck and his last stand, because if he loses here, he is eliminated from this tournament and he's short of getting to the final. And final would give him an invite to the 3rd edition. So here, this is his stand. He needs to make his stand in here. He needs to win 3 games with this Warrior. Is he able to do it? We'll see after we jump to the game.
All right, let's begin and find out. Tice can go 3-0 with his Warrior deck. He needs to, or else this is it for him to stop is here, and Colenso advances to the finals.
Well, Tice gets a coin and gets a brawl, which is kind of cool. Acolyte of Pain is also good. He will be able to draw a couple of cards, unless Colento actually gets Airshock. Armor Smith, a pretty nice draw. Oh my god, his hand is actually pretty nice. Armor Smith, Acolyte, Senjin, good curve, and a Sludge Belcher, sick curve.
Yeah, seems like it's going to work out nicely, but Shaman can pick apart that curve very effectively, and I mean they have such powerful spells that do give overload and need minions even. That's partially why you know, the mechanics work that way, so you can squeeze in other cards that turn and then pay for it later. The curve for Colento is starting to work out too.
Yeah, that Nubbish Inventor is actually doing a lot of work. It's the second game when he gets it, he will be able to play it on turn 4. I mean, it's not certain he will play it on turn 4 right now, because Flametongue Totem can get a lot of value. Drawing, well, he won't be able to kill the Acolyte, but still Flametongue might be an option.
Yeah, this Fire War Axe is very important to get value. You know, a lot of times you want to make sure that things like Spirit Wolves can't get value. So that's why Fire War Axe can go 1 for 1, and that way you're just giving up a little bit of health, which is no problem for the warrior. But in this case, I think you're more than happy if you have an Armor Smith to kill off the Harvest Golem. You're in a good spot.
Yeah, that also actually prevented the Flametongue Totem, because there was no good target for the Flametongue, and just playing it to not do anything and just lose it to the Fireworks is not a good play. So Nubbish Inventor was a pretty nice card, and he picks up Sludge Belcher, which will be a perfect card for turn 5. On the other side, Tyson L. Well, how do you deal with this? Just a yellow drop Senjin?
Senjin, let's see, what are you vulnerable to a Senjin? You still can just get blown out by a Flametongue Totem very easily. But then you're using the coin for something that's marginally better. It's still a 3/5 body, so I think Senjin is better here, because that way you're not wasting the coin of Sludge Belcher, which has the same exact stats anyways.
Yeah, you can also just kill the 2/4 with your Armor Smith and a weapon. Oh, he's actually going for a spider. That's also fine. Losing Armor Smith wouldn't be that good.
I think you're okay with a Flametongue play too, just because he has to trade the rest of his board, and he'd most likely totem, and that gives you an opportunity to place the strongest minion, and then Flametongue has to come behind the minion, not before it. So any minion he places afterwards, you can use a Shield Slam to address it, and then have the opportunity to... Ooh, double Flametongue.
Yeah, just to clear the board. It looks
Nice.
pretty nice.
I was just thinking he was going to totem up, but it makes total sense. Don't give up your board unnecessarily, and also the Flametongues can fight back.
Well, he just killed Senjin, which is a 4 mana 3/5 with a 1/1 token, which is not even a full card. I'd say it's pretty nice. And also, in this situation, what is Warrior going to do? He has an empty board, a 1/1, so you're fine with the 1/1. Do you force a brawl from a Warrior? That would be super awkward if we see the brawl now. The other way to clear this board, no, Death Spite, is it actually clearing the board? It does not. So Colento knows what Warrior's playing. So what are the ways to actually clear here?
Well, it doesn't seem like you clear. He is investing 2 cards to kill, like, to fill up the board. So if you can kill these cards and make it really effective, like the Sludge Belcher ends up picking apart 1 or 2 of these cards, and you start having an advantage. And Shaman needs to fight 1 for 2 instead of the other way around, because their draw mechanics are pretty limited outside of cantrips.
A pretty good call with Lothep. Yeah, that's a pretty nice call, because if he will play Sludge Belcher and if there is a Hex, Colento will sneak in another 6 points of damage, or maybe even more. And right now, Colento will be forced. He won't be able to play Hex, so he will have to play something else. If there is a Fire Elemental, sure, there is a Sludge Belcher, so for Colento is actually a pretty good play. But first, obviously, he has to attack the minions.
Yep. Attack before you place the minions between the Flametongues, so that way. Oh, Lento missed a little bit of damage here by accident.
Yeah, he should have attacked with the totem.
But the idea was, Tice pointing out his mistake, trying to get inside Colento's head. You know, the little bit of damage might matter, but often it's more about the board control for Shaman than it is about rushing a warrior down because they have lots of ways to gain armor and remove.
I'm
But
sure
then again,
Colento.
you have to be careful about that.
I'm sure Colento is just playing around Molten Giants, as we've seen many times
That's
yesterday.
right. Don't want to give him any form of ability to swing the board like that. I like it.
So there is a death spite pickup from Thijs. What does it even mean? The 7-5 slash
Brawl.
Vulture.
Brawl
You know
is
what-
being hovered over, and Tyson's going to initiate. This could be a very big moment if he goes for a pseudo board clear. Oh,
Stealth
so
Vulture
close.
actually survived. The worst possible outcome.
Wow.
And right now Colento can just continue building the board, and you see this is exactly what we talked about. The Brawl is a
Man.
great card, but still, after the Brawl you are staring at 3 minions.
And now it's a brawl that's been used, and Colento has the ease of mind that he can continue to build forward. Like, if he has Feral Spirits, that much more likely to play it because he doesn't have to worry about a brawl coming to the mix.
He has so many options. He has a Nerf Shock for a possible such Belcher. He has a Hex for whatever. A la Kier if there is no taunt.
Man, Tice, again, I just feel so bad. He can't. His RNG this tournament has been pretty poor, to say the least. And now it looks like Colento might be able to even burst him down soon. He's got Alec here in hand. If he picks up Rockbiter, I feel like that's going to be it. And Colento has the perfect response to deny draws from Tice with what he can do in the future.
Even without Rockbiter as the end next turn. Like, Thijs will have to clear this board. Alakir is possibly a 6 points of damage. And is Thijs actually able to deal with this board? Black Knight is a pretty cool card.
Yeah, Black Knight is an important draw here to kill off the 4/6. You have the Death Spite. You even have Execute. It's gonna be messy, but you at this point you're in critical health. You're aware that you can die to Doomhammer / Rockbiter Burst.
It's actually painful, but I think... Okay, like Colento will be 1 damage of lethal with this. Unless... Okay, he armor up. That's 11, that's 6, 8, 10. Yeah, 1 damage of lethal. He needs to pick up something like Rockbiter.
Hmm?
He needs a Rockbiter. Unless, actually, wait, is he going to execute? Kill? Okay, cool. Then Colento is actually missing more. He's 3 damage of lethal.
I think Tice did this in the wrong order. He needed to... Well, I guess he Black Knighted first instead of doing a little bit of damage to his minions. So that way he keeps the 5 health from the Black Knight. I was trying to think about the sequencing because Colento is now also reverse BMing back Tice and saying, well, it looks like you didn't do an optimal play either. But I think Tice just picked the least worst option here, considering that he's at a stage where he needs every single hit point possible, and Colento is pressing for the win.
Yeah, I'm definitely fine with the sequence that Dice applied. He was able to armor up and use Shield Slam. He was able to keep his own execute, which was pretty cool. But right now, he is facing a really terrible situation.
Yep, Acolyte of Pain is probably one of the worst draws Tice could possibly get because it doesn't do anything. He doesn't have a way to draw at the moment. He just uses Death Bite activator. And this should be it.
One more. I mean, Colento is 1 of lethal still.
Oh, you're right. I was thinking if he gets Lightning Storm, and is there a way for him to kind of press through? But he can't fit that with Alec here.
Can he win with Lightning Storm and Defender of Argus? That's the question.
Okay.
If he gets 3 damage on, well, yeah, now he has lethal, right or not? Wait.
The 1/2 in the back. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It does because you have the Defender of Argus you can play. This should be lethal.
Yeah, this is lethal for sure. You hit 3 at the you play Defender of Argus so that you buff the 1/2 into a 2/3, and that's exactly that's.
And Colento will be advancing to the grand finals 4-1 over Tice with his Shaman deck. It wasn't necessarily the Druid that needed to be it. Oh, just kidding. We miscounted.
Oh my god. Still,
Wow,
okay.
damn. You totally had me fooled there. I was like, oh, I totally trusted here. No worries, man.
I was doing the math 3 times. It
Yeah.
was so weird.
Okay. Well, the whole point is I don't think Tice can come back from this spot. Even Alex Straza seems like he wouldn't be able to bounce him back from this position. Oh, well. Math fail.
Yeah, it's tough. But it's only because he actually did have a low roll on the Lightning Storm. Because he got 3
That's
instead
right.
of 4.
If he got a high roll, he could have used the 1 attack. And then he would have been able to use the 2 attack minion to actually push in through, giving him the exact lethal. It's a good
Off his
observation.
card.
All right, well,
this is it.
Tice will have to wait another day for his tournament win, and Colento will advance to his second finals of a big premier tournament. Well played.
Yeah, this is exceptionally well played, and it's also interesting that Colento was playing mostly aggro decks. I wouldn't say that this Shaman is a control. It's more like a mid-range aggro-ish version of the deck. So aggro Druid, aggro mid-range Shaman were able to get Colento a win, and Colento advances with to the final. You can see he's happy, the camera, and what a series, Rodan! What a series! Again, 4-1. So Colento is establishing his dominance.
Can anyone stop this guy? He's 13-3 the entire tournament so far.
This is a 6 score.
Yeah, it's absolutely dominant. He's by far the most uncontested player in the entire tournament. The entire Group A was 3-2 practically every series, and the final score of the group was so close that if you just change one game from one win to one loss for a couple players, then the entire top 2 of the group would change. And now all of a sudden, Colento is the guy who's standing head and shoulders above everyone else with his record. Who knows? Maybe it's because Ty seems to be the unluckiest player in the tournament, or seemingly the world at the moment. Or maybe it's because Colento is onto something that we're not. Either way, a fantastic series for Colento, and he advances to the finals, guaranteeing him an invite to the next tournament, as well as some good chunk of change.
I would certainly agree and say that Thijs is the unluckiest player this tournament, but still, he was able to get to top 4. He played really well, and so I'm sure like everybody watching this tournament would say like, hey, Thijs NL is actually a splendid player. He was really unlucky, and a lot of players are crying that RNG is there in Hearthstone and they are losing because of an RNG. Thijs had a really bad RNG all tournament, but still he was able to push through. He had a good strategy. He did his best, and he was eliminated really short of final, and a semi-finalist, a splendid player, and I'm really hyped to watch Thijs in future tournaments.
Yeah, how do you get top 4 despite the fact that several moments immediately stick out in memory of how bad this guy, about how bad the luck was his run for this tournament? I don't know. A great run to him, and he should be absolutely proud, but keep his head high for the next one. In the meantime, our second semifinals, Hype vs. Trump, will be coming up after the break. But before we do, we want to remind you guys about the opportunity to win the Zeus Mini Cyberpower PC. Just check out the link or go to the bottom of the Twitch page and find out more information about VGVN. They are an organization that tries to fight against the harmful portrayal of video games in the media. They do all kinds of cool promotions about the educational, scientific, and artistic benefits of gaming. Joining is free, and it takes less than a minute of your time, and you enter the raffle to win this cool PC, which will be given away at the end of the tournament series. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the second semifinal of VGVN number 2. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to the VGVN Max Randoms Release Tournament number 2. We want to remind people that there's a cool giveaway going on, and we'll be talking about it throughout the rest of the day. But we also want to let you guys know about the next open tournament that'll be for VGN number 3. That's right, they're already in the middle of planning the third tournament in the series. The qualifier for the open bracket will start 1 week from today for both Europe and North America. All the information is at liquidheart.com, where you can find out the big thing on the front page that says Liquid Heart Open VGVN number 3 qualifiers. Click on it and find a way for sign up in your respective region, so maybe you can be the one playing against Kalento and whoever wins this next series, Hyped versus Trump. Nibs, it's going to come down to second semifinals. Both of these guys have a lot to prove, not just because of what's been said before, but also because they're so much closer to getting that invite back. It feels like semifinals to finals is a big wall, because if you don't, you have to go through the open or be invited back. Otherwise, Hyped and Kalento gets a seat to next tournament.
Oh yeah, I think like both of those guys are actually hungry for the win. Hyped really needs his first major tournament win to legitimize himself, and Trump is fighting for those wins. All those tournaments in the past, he's always getting close, getting to top 3, top 4, getting short of the tournament win. So I'm sure that both the players are really motivated to actually advance and win versus Kolento, or if not, to actually get the invite spot for the third edition of this tournament. Both of the players are cool deck builders. Champ is running a lot of custom cards, a lot of his own decisions, and he's not afraid to bring cards like a Hungry Crab to the fold. Hyped, on the other hand, a splendid deck builder, his own builds. Like we've seen his mage yesterday, and I was amazed how he played the mage and how the mage actually worked. And I was talking to Mong at some point, and Hyped, apparently Hyped used his mage to climb to the second place on the NA Legend ladder with that mage, just farming priests and warriors. So
pretty sick.
Yeah, it's a cool story, and now he is able to actually use this mage again against Trump. So I don't know who will win. By the way, those players actually are bringing another class to the best of 7 format. So maybe we can jump to the bans and picks screen and see what the players actually banned and what they brought. What is new?
All right, well, it seems like Hunter has been unanimously banned for the top 4 here, and Hype's extra deck he's bringing is a Druid deck, and Trump seems to be bringing Shaman as his deck of choice for today. And I think those are 2 solid classes, just because if it seems like Hype's going to bring Token Druid, I feel like it will be. It's a good mixture to the kind of control-ish deck that he's bringing lineup-wise. And then Trump has Shaman, which seems to be just overall very good. We just saw Kalento able to win 3 games with his Shaman deck.
Certainly. And this Shaman build is, again, a very stable minion-based Shaman. So we are not seeing the crazy combos with Baron Rivender and Reincarnate. Here, stability is everything. You want to have good draws. There are no specific combos. A standard build with 1 mana Totem with the sticky minions. There's no Doomhammer, but it's fine because there's Alak here. And Doomhammer is a pretty crazy card with this control metagame and Harrison Jones being played. Doomhammer is super risky. So I commend Tram on not bringing Doomhammer. And other than that, the Shaman is pretty standard, a pretty good, solid build. On the other hand, Hyped Miracle Rogue, we discussed it yesterday. And by the way, guys, if you want to see the games we're referencing from yesterday and 2 days ago, just type !YouTube and you'll be able to see the link to the YouTube that all the VODs are being posted. And even as we speak right now, the VODs are being processed. So I'm sure that after the tournament, you'll be able to watch the games that you actually missed.
All right, game 1 is about to begin. Hyped looks like to be a favorite on paper in this matchup, specifically Rogue versus Shaman. But we saw in Kalento's game versus Tice, if the Miracle Rogue doesn't get the good draws and they don't have things like the coin or gadgets in, it can be a little tricky. But Hyped, I think all tournament long, one thing that's also been kind of a running joke is when he plays Miracle, he's never on the coin.
Yeah,
seems like a thing
true.
that's just always happens for him.
So no coin for Hyped and no gadgets on. It can get tricky, but Hyped didn't start with gadgets a couple of times, but he was able to draw it somewhere in the middle of the game and turn around the games that seemed lost. So maybe this time he will also get that gadgets on at some point and be able to advance. His cards are not that bad. He has Knowledge Inventor, he has a shift, so he has some drawing potential. Maybe he will actually grab that gadgets on.
All right. Well, it seems like Hype does have minions to play, so it's not the worst possible start where you only have spells and no gadgets in. At least he's got ways to impact the board a little bit and force Shaman to do more than just build up the board, totem up, and pressure.
On the other side, Trump has to pressure Hype. He has to deal as much damage as possible, also dealing with the minions that Hype will be playing. So Trump will certainly hope that there is no gadgets on, but even without the gadgets on, a free minion is still dangerous. So Trump will have to just deal with the board and deal as much damage as possible before the Gadgetzan is being dropped. And after the Gadgetzan, he will have to do the last push. He will have like one or maybe 3 turns to be able to seal the game, but it will get dangerous. So right now, well, he actually decides to draw cards instead of just well, draw cards and clear, which is fine. The next turn he will have Gnomish Inventor, and he will be able to start developing the board from there.
Yeah, Manatite Totem is actually one of the best cards against Miracle Rogue because, again, you force out removal, and you're also paying for yourself. And the worst case scenario for the Miracle Rogue is that they can't deal with it, like in this, like what just happened. And now you're able to pick up a couple cards. It's a target for Defender of Argus. Unfortunately, Trump has overloaded, but Manatite already has served a nuisance enough that Hyped is going to be a little bit farther behind. But it seems like as long as Hype picks up Gadgetzan, his hand is still looking pretty decent. He's got ways to draw and remove. So I don't think Hype's in a bad spot just yet.
Here a good decision by Trump to actually clear the board, to be able to secure the mana Totem. Next turn he will be overloaded for 1, but he will still be able to play Gnomish Inventor. So if he gets a Fire Elemental for turn 6, he won't be overloaded then, and he will be able to play it. Hyped actually got the Blade Flurry 2 turns ago, but he doesn't have the Deadly Poison, which is the key card to be comboed with Blade Flurry. He picks up Falnos, so this might be important, because then Blade Flurry will be able to deal 2 points of damage instead of just 1.
Definitely agree here. Now Trump has to go for a little bit of a more passive play and go for more cards with Gnomish Inventor, a solid body. But this gives Hyped a little breathing room. If he picks up Gadgetzan in the next couple of turns, he's still sitting at a very comfortable life total. Trump also has very reactive cards. He's got Hex and Earth Shocks, Defender of Argus on a board, but there's no guarantee in the next coming turns, if he'll even have a board, to get full value off of this card.
Well, this is pretty good for Hype, because he can play Falnos, he can backstab the 2/4, attack into it with a weapon, kill the totem, even weapon up after that. To just clear the board on or even play Farseer. So he has a lot of options to just clear and develop his board. And even if you don't have the Gadgetzan, well, if you don't have a Gadgetzan, your second strategy is to just develop your board and be able to push with damage. Right now, Hypeness is in a really good position to develop his board and try to threaten Trump with what he has. And obviously we mentioned it also before, that Shaman is all about board control, all about board position. Trump has no minis in board. How is it about board control, Froden? What do you think is going on here?
Well, there is a case to kind of make that you want to have the weapons. So one, you're not overextending into Lightning Storm. He won't be able to get the full damage value off of Fire Elemental. But you are using more mana, and next turn, if you want to drop Farseer and say you do draw Gadgetzan, you have to use a little extra. You have to use the same amount of mana anyways for Deadly Poison. So I think Hyped says, well, you know, if he's dropping a minion, I might as well have more board development, like you said.
What do you think about Airshock into a 3/2 instead of 1/1 to just sacrifice a bit of your board position, but deny this draw?
He has Earthshock #2, so it's okay, but this is where it really hurts. Hype didn't have to use Eviscerate whatsoever to get rid of it, and now he can just use a Shiv very effectively, and then trade his Thalnos in to cash in before the Earthshock. So it didn't pay off for Trump. It was a little bit of a greedier play, I would say, because he didn't want to take as much damage or lose his Azure Drake very easily. But in the end, it seems like Hype got that extra draw, which could be that much closer to Gadgetzan. If he was drawing Shadow Step next turn, that's a whiff. But if he draws a really important card, who knows?
Well, Hype didn't get a sap, he didn't get a Gadgetzan, so right now he'll have to decide what to do. But on the other hand, Trump is in a pretty bad position because he is missing the Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm would be a key last turn. Right now, he's forced to just play almost 1 card each turn. So It's not something that Shaman wants to do. You want to have as many minions as possible for those buffs to work, and Hyped is just pushing with damage, and Trump is already at 17.
He has
So
23 damage this turn, which is insane to think about. But the spell power really does add up.
Already attacked.
Wow, he's going to conceal because he recognizes he has an opportunity to maybe end the game right here. And then Blade Flurry can most likely kill off any kind of taunts that get in his way.
this is a sick read because the previous board that he had was so open to Lightning Storm, and because the Lightning Storm never came, there was a weird play of the Earthshock and Azure Drake. It was a clear signal that hey, Lightning Storm is not in my opponent's hand, so I will better just conceal my minions to be able to finish the game next turn.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to just recognize the situation and go for it. He does have 11 damage in hand, even if this Azure Drake dies off, which it doesn't look like it will. Trump has to set up a defensive line, but all he can do is set up a Defender of Argus play.
I also like that Hype didn't use Eviscerates, because you can still use Eviscerates this turn, and without using them, your opponent is not aware how much life he has left. Because with those Eviscerates are 10 points of damage, so basically Trump has only 7 points. Oh, a sub pickup is so important here.
Wait, is that game? I think it is.
I think that's
if you
game.
Just sap and eviscerate twice and attack with your minions. That should be it. And Hyped jumps out to a 1-0 lead, unless we're miscounting again.
No, there's no way. I'm for sure that's lethal.
Okay. Okay, now it's only about if Hyped somehow messes us up, but I don't think he will because he's played thousands of games with Miracle Rogue, and he's very well versed in all of its ability to end the game here. Trump drops this game. We kind of expected Shaman to be at a disadvantage, and this is the potency of what Miracle Rogue can do, and why, by the way, Blade Flurry is such an important card in this matchup sometimes.
I feel like Trump actually got unlucky. He didn't have an explosive start. He had to play Mana Totem on turn 3, which doesn't do much. He got a couple of more cards, but he wasn't able to push with damage. Then he didn't get that Lightning Storm in a key moment where he would be able to clear and snatch the board position. So with those like cards that didn't really work together, he was pushed behind, and he just lost there to a good, kind of like a good draw from Hyped. Even without the gadgets, and he was able to just position himself with those mid game minions that that Miracle Rogue is running.
That's a good point. And now he's going to turn to Zoo in order to take out Miracle Rogue. This is an interesting choice considering, well, I guess it makes sense. You look at his other decks, Warrior, Priest, maybe they don't fare as well against Miracle Rogue. Zoo feels like one of those decks where if Miracle Rogue gets the coin, they get Phantom Knives and backstab SI7 Agent, then you really can't do anything to them, especially if they get Gadgets Hands and draws. But there are a couple of cards that Trump can get early, like Doomguard, which gives Miracle a hell of a time. And maybe that can be his way to be able to punish a Miracle Rogue that starts off slow.
Well, if Miracle Rogue doesn't draw into his removal cards, like Flurry and Fun of Knives, or even SA7 and Backstab, sometimes being a Miracle Rogue, you have more of a late game or a mid game draws, cards that don't really clear the board, and you're being easily pushed. Like you are forced to play Farseer and heal yourself. Then Trump will be able to snatch the board position with those sticky minions, with a lot of minions that he has. So I think I would give an edge to Hyped, but definitely Trump played this deck a lot of times, and he was also playing this deck in many other tournaments. So he is skilled. He proved consistently that he is winning with this Zoo, and he knows how to play it. He knows how to sequence the cards and the plays. So he is a contender here. So even though Hyped has an edge, I would be really interested to see how this game unfolds.
By the way, I like that Hyped specifically typed in Custom Rouge instead of Rogue, a common mistype, or typo rather, that a lot of people make in Hearthstone community. Game number 2 is about to begin, and Hyped is trying to jump out to a 2-0 lead. In fact, if he can get over the Zoo, he might be in a position to 4-0 because the rest of the decks that Trumps bring also have a hard time against Miracle Rogue.
All right, and Trump actually doesn't have a coin, but he has a good start with a Zombie Chow, Haunted Creeper, and Knife Juggler. So he has the curve, which is, well, even though it's a Zoo deck, it's still important to have a curve. Sometimes you just miss the 1-drop. On the other hand, Hyped has Farseer, which is a good card. Hype doesn't know. I'm not sure if Hype can be actually sure what kind of Warlock he's facing. Does Hype know if it's Zoo or Handlock?
Well, Trump is primarily a Zoo player whenever he's brought Warlock to a tournament, and that also makes it a little confusing of why he wants to pick up Backstab. And if Hype is trying to play very conservative and just like make sure to have a mutual agreement that Gadget Sand's the best card that he wants against both, then he might go for it. But I don't know, like it might be a little too optimistic to feel like I have time, because if Zoo gets off to a really good start, you might not have time to play Gadget Sand. You might not have enough health to be able to pull back into the game.
Yeah, I feel like one of the key cards in this matchup being Morelco Rogue is actually SA7. Backstab is also pretty helpful, but SA7 is the card that actually turns the game around, especially if you have a coin.
But there is something to be said that Hyped also has played so many games versus Zoo because it is one of the most popular ladder decks. And he also sees Zombie Chow. It's a card that surprisingly extends the life of many players because you aren't able to get its opposite synergy with something like Akanai Soul Priest in Zoo. So effectively, Hyped just used Backstab and he's back at full health and only loses a weapon charge. And that might give a little bit more longevity to the game than Trump would like.
Oh yeah, certainly. Especially because right now Trump only deals 1 point of damage. This is already turn 3. So it seems like a slow start, but on turn 4 he will be able to play Juggler and Direwolf Alpha, and those minions are so sticky, so they will probably remain here. Also, this Farseer is going down for sure with the Direwolf Alpha being played. Now the question is...
Oh, Defender of Argus draw is so
this
nasty.
is even better. This is a sick draw. Now he is able to kill Farseer without even losing Harvest Golem.
Yep, and now all of a sudden these 1 damage spells like Shiv are... They only kill half the iteration. There's still a 2-1 remaining. Oh, and Hype does pick up Sap though, and that card is not really that effective against Zoo, but if you can use it to remove buffs, or take away really expensive creatures like Dark Iron Dwarf or Harvest Golem, it does have its place. And he is also taking pretty minimal amounts of damage, and he's coming up on turns where he can use Gadget Sand. So he's still stabilizing enough. Trump's been taking a very slow, methodical approach. That way he has a very sticky board. But cards that put out a lot of damage, like Knife Juggler and Direwolf Alpha, have been sitting in his hand for a while. And that could be a reason why Trump can't necessarily win the game as the turns continue to progress.
Well, on the other hand, Hype doesn't have the AoE clear, so... even if he plays... Like, playing Gadgets on next turn doesn't make any sense, because he won't be able to draw that many cards. And there is also always a threat of a Soulfire. So Trump will just continue to develop his board and try to push as much damage as possible. The question is Hype being able to deal with that board effectively?
Well, he has cards to stall until then. And, you know, the coin also gives him another draw. Meanwhile, Trump picks up Nerubian Egg, and he's back at he's still asking the same question as he did in the very beginning of the game. Do you go for more of a development where that way you're resilient against the cards that Miracle can push out, or are you going to go for more of an aggressive approach?
Well, it seems that he's trying to protect himself from the AoEs, so that the Nerubian
Oh,
Egg
man.
conceal
Off the top for Hyped.
Yeah, this is huge. This is exactly what he wanted. And the backstab, oh my god, this is so good for Hype. Backstab is the perfect card.
That is pretty devastating, and Trump loses a lot of power on board, half of his damage. And this is what he was afraid of.
This is the exact situation you don't want to find yourself in, being the Zoo. You were able to deal only 6 points of damage. Your board is really not that significant. You have no way to kill that Gadget-san, and you know that next turn you will get a lot of damage. Basically, next turn, your board can actually get cleared, and you can't do anything about it, and you are going to also get some points of damage in the process. Your opponent will actually go through his whole deck, set up a win in the next 2 turns.
All right, you know, and even if he goes for 3 juggles, it's still going to be very close because he can't kill off this Gadget's in, and he's not even doing damage straight to the face.
I think I will actually go for the Haunted Creeper. Yeah, this board is going to be cleared. I will definitely expect...
Wow, 3 juggles to Gadget's in.
So close.
And Hyped ends up gaining 3 life because of it. And he also has Fan of Knives.
Yeah, this
Actually,
board
something that
is
is annoying though is the Ajisan can't kill off a minion and then play a spell.
true, and he is missing preparations, but
Many options.
still has a lot of good cards in here.
Right? Double SI7 agent, a very valuable card to have. If Hype was able to pick up preparation though, this board would be history. Or specifically, this board would be toast.
Can he play? I think he has to play Cold Blood. Wait.
Well, he has to make a choice. Shiv ends up giving him a lot of cards. He could feel like he's not under threat. The Gadget Sand could trade. Oh my goodness. You can also Shadow Step his Gadget Sand too. Shadow Step's also really powerful with SI7 agent in this matchup.
Choose soon.
Certainly, it's a Shadow Step is a card in this matchup to actually get board control and put yourself in a good position. Not necessarily just keep it and for the Leroy play.
Oh, he picks up preparation. He needs to kind of go quickly though.
Here. Almost roped.
Nope, he doesn't end up using preparation. It looks like he's going to keep prep to have a massive Van Cleef, which is also another way to win in this matchup. Trump, by the way, picks up Soulfire, so a way to add in damage. And finally, he's starting to rack it in, the aggression, because he needs to just go all in. He still hasn't drawn Doom Guards.
I like the Soulfire play because if he gets a Doom Guard, he won't lose that Soulfire. He puts Hyped on 10 points of health, which is an amount that's really deadly. You have a full board, your opponent is almost dead. So now if he gets a second Soulfire, or if he gets his first Doom Guard, he's in a position to just play it and deal even more damage.
Gosh. Hype's also very cautious to make sure not to activate his Nerubian Egg. He picks up a second Fan of Knives, so that way he can be able to minimize the damage. And Trump's board has gone kapoof. A 10-10 Van Cleef has appeared, and I don't know if Trump's running Iron Beak Owl.
He might not, and double Voidwalker is not something he wanted.
Well, actually, it's doesn't it provide big enough wall that Van Cleef can't get through necessarily?
Well, not really, because he Hype should be able to actually remove it pretty easily.
Yeah, he does have Deadly Poison and SI7 agents.
And Shadow Step.
That is one way that Van Cleef can be pretty ineffective. Second preparation is actually good for Hype, because now he can put out double SI7 agent. Everything is lining up perfectly
and
for the Miracle Rogue.
Yeah, this is so sick from his side.
This guy's toast.
And now Trump is looking at a next turn death here.
Well, if he gets a Soulfire, uses it for face, then Life Tap into Doomguard just wins at that point.
That is also true. But this is a 14 damage Van Cleef coming one way. And Trump needs two very specific cards in order to win here. Oh no, Flame is not one of them. Oh, and it looks like Hype is going to be able to take game 2 and jump out to a 2-0 lead.
Poor Trump. He played it really well, but he didn't get enough push, and Hype actually got the This is why the Miracle Rogue is a miracle rogue. Miracles do happen. He was getting all those cards he needed, like preparation in the exact moment he needed, the second preparation, Fan of Knives, got the backstab, like the gadgets in turn was just amazing. Like, it seemed like he's just losing the game, and then he got Conceal. He was able to conceal, and from the Conceal and Coin he got the backstab, so he was able to limit the damage, and also got 3 points of damage into gadgets and Auctioneer. So I will have to say that Trump actually got unlucky, even though in general Hype had an edge with regards to the matchup. Trump got unlucky and lost this deck and this game. And right now he's down to Priest. What do you think about that matchup?
Yeah, actually, no. Before we move on to Priest, you bring up a great point. Doomguard is one of the most important cards in the matchup against Rogue, because it's sap resistant. They need very specific cards in combination, and they often lose a lot of health to it. So Trump not drawing his Doomguards was very unlucky. Now we go to Priest, another class that struggles on paper against Miracle Rogue because it's very passive. But you do have ways to deal with the Concealed Gadget Stand, at least. It's one of the few classes that do, with Arcanine Soul Priest and Circle of Healing. I'm looking at his list, and there's still ways to give Miracle Rogue a window of opportunity with like cards like Zombie Chow and very passive cards like Sylvanas and Cairn that can get sapped. So I feel like Trump is at a disadvantage, but it seems like he's very hesitant to throw Warrior into the mix, which makes it feel like Priest being better than Warrior to kill Miracle Rogue. Trump's in a bad spot. You rarely get an opportunity for Mind Control and Black Knight to ever do anything in this matchup. So
Well,
he's going to have some dead draws.
Maybe he will be able to mind control a 20 per 20 Edwin. You never know.
True, we've seen crazy things in the past.
It's interesting how Trump is the only person running Zombie Chow and a couple of decks. He really likes the card.
Yeah, it's good value on stats or on paper because the stats 2/3, and you do have synergy in the Priest deck. The Alkanized Soul Priest with Zombie Chow allows you to make it like a Mind Blast in a way. So there are ways for you to combo it to finish off your opponent, and Trump's played Priest pretty well in the past. Game number 3 is about to begin. Can Trump turn it around against Hyped, or will Hyped be able to continue the Miracle Rogue dominance all the way to the finals?
By the way, it's so funny on turn 5 you play Alkanized Soul Priest with Zombie Chow and then Circle of Healing. Oh my god, what a start. He gets Gadgets on, he gets Edwin Van Cleef, and he has a coin as well. Even Mulligan the Deadly Poison. But a preparation backstab might be even better here. Trump has the 1-drops. Zombie Chow again, turn 1.
Oh, but Hyped has, yeah, he can put out that 4/4 Van Cleef and give Trump a really hard time. Trump's also got a really passive start other than the Northshire Cleric. Like after this, he's just kind of at the mercy of Thoughtsteal. He's drawn 2 of his heaviest cards in his deck, and so it's going to come to a very abrupt halt unless he picks up something important here.
Yeah, 4/4 Van Cleef on turn 2 is so annoying. What are you even going to do? Injured Blade Master is a pretty cool card to get.
Yeah, that's
still,
something.
And it's not something that you can backstab, by the way. That's a pretty good interaction.
True. Because he didn't weapon up, he can't just SI7 and be able to kill everything.
Interesting. I guess you have to backstab the 1/3 and kill it with a weapon. So attack into 2/3, then backstab the Northshire Cleric and no wait, you don't have to weapon it. You just play SA7. So backstab 1/3 SA7, kill the 2/3, or even like sure, attack into 1/3 because you get only 1 damage on Edwin, and backstab SA7 the Zombie Chow. There's a couple of decisions here.
Yeah, like all 3 attacks can be justified in a certain way because of the cards in your hand. You know, the Injured Blade Master represents the biggest threat because if he heals it, you don't have a way to kill it off the next turn guaranteed. Versus killing off the Northshire Cleric, it's an easy kill. Van Cleef stays healthy, and then the Zombie Chow, of course, gives you health back.
I think I actually like attacking into the Injured Blade Master and leaving Northshire Cleric as the only minion on board. Because then what is Priest going to do? He has a 1/3 against your 3/3. Yeah, this is the best full trade. But there are so many decisions still, and it was only turn 3. That's pretty interesting.
Deadly Poison is a pretty big whiff for Trump.
Unless
he thought steal something else.
Yeah, Deadly Poison is a dead card, and Trump is devastated.
Ugh. Oh no. The horror. That lack of value. You basically played 3 mana for Shadow Step.
Yeah.
Because the other thing about spells like Shield Slam is at least it's a spell, so if you have Pyromancer, you can trigger it as a Whirlwind. But Deadly Poison can't even activate unless you have a weapon up.
I must consider.
True.
Right away.
Well, you have to wait. There is no weapon that he can steal because Hyped is not playing Assassin's Blade.
That's
so
right.
This is a dead card. And Hyped is actually getting ahead with good trades and good minions. Trump in a bind. He gets another Injured Blade Master, which is cool because now he has a pretty cool turn 5 play. But other than that, he's in a weird spot. That Black Knight will have no value at all. Sylvanas is pretty nice. Okay.
Look at what Hyped has. He's got Conceal, Gadget and Preparation. Trump cannot draw. He has to draw Arcanite and Circle of Healing in the next 2 cards in order to deal with it. He is in a very bad position.
I have no time for games.
I certainly agree. It looks so bad. Sylvanas is important. But right now, Hyped can actually attack with everything he has and play Gadgets and Conceal. Conceal the whole board. And even play Preparation and do some other stuff. Or he can even... Wait, can he Shadow Step Lotheb? Doesn't even make sense.
Well,
I guess
I don't
not.
think you need to at the moment. If you're going to Conceal... Well, I guess you are afraid of a Circle of Healing and Arcanine.
I think it's like, instead of just playing Gadgets and Conceal, is there any value into... No, I guess just Gadgets and Conceal the board is just too good. Attack first. Just ignore those minions.
So many.
Yeah, he needs to Shadow or Death Sylvanas to steal something. And even then, he has to steal like his Lotheb or Gadgetzan.
And your
Trump's
board
hand is
will be
looking
concealed.
pretty poor for this.
11 points of damage. Oh my god.
Alright, Conceal's coming down. Hype's running out of time, but he's perfectly fine with how things have been progressing so far. He's going to Eviscerate as well, just to kind of continue to draw.
Actually killing the injured Blade Master with a Farseer and Eviscerate.
Fair enough.
Well, it's a tough call because I think he's just trying to avoid the possible taunt. Instead of just going 7 damage to face, he was thinking, hey, if he has a taunt, that injured Blade Master will be really a tough wall, and then I kill it so that if he uses Defender of Argus, I will be able to sap Sylvanas because I possibly get a sap at some point.
Okay, now, see, the Sludge Belcher is kind of a problem.
So many options.
Well, he wants to draw some cards, so I'd say attack into a Sludge Belcher with Lotheb.
You can draw cards with Azure Drake.
Gets
Oh,
a
he
sap.
picks up Sap.
Oh,
He
this
can
is
sap
sick.
Sylvanas.
And that's
Or he can sap the
7,
Sludge
12
Belcher.
points of damage. Yeah, sap the Sludge Belcher and go face.
I like sapping Sylvanas, so that way your board's not threatened.
That's also fine, yeah. You just continue to dominate the board. But it's, what, 9, 12 points of damage, so you put your opponent at 6, and he gets the Leroy.
But you know what? I mean, sapping either one makes sense here. You're pursing in for damage. You have Leroy Shadow Step. Hyped is so far ahead that it feels like it doesn't matter what he does. And Trump can only watch as he counts down the rope, but what can he even do in the following turns?
Are you thinking about Shadow Stepping Lotheb, maybe? No, it doesn't make any sense. Second Sludge Belcher for Trump, but it's not enough. It's not something he wanted. He would need to kill Lotheb and then steal, I guess, Gadgetzan. And play Sludge Belcher, and then he will have still 3 points of mana.
Yeah, he needs this to steal one of the 4/4s.
Yes, the
Alright, so he
Gadgetzan.
takes Gadgetzan.
But still, he won't be able to use Gadgetzan that well, because he only has the Shadow Step.
No, Ragnaros.
This is a ballsy play.
Well, he's just gonna go for it because there's no real consequence either way because his opponent's 2 damage off lethal, at least what he sees, but Hype's got him covered multiple times over, and he's gonna jump out to a 3-0 lead. And you know, Trump, he had an opportunity to bring an extra deck just like Hyped, and he brought Shaman, which wasn't the best counter to Miracle Rogue. It seems like there's a gaping hole in his lineup overall, and now he's down to his last deck in order to fend for himself.
Well, I guess the best counter to Miracle Rogue is the Hunter, but Hunter got vetoed and banned, so it put Trump in a bind. Like, how do you even counter the Miracle Rogue if you don't have a Hunter?
Well, the hand lock's really good. Obviously, it's still very powerful. If you bring something like Freeze Mage
Aggro
still is
Druid.
surprisingly very good.
Aggro
Aggro
Druid
Druid,
as well.
yeah, is a way to be able to do it, like Strife Cross combo.
True.
But I don't really know if bringing Shaman is the best chance to tackle against Miracle Rogue. But Trump was probably also scared of what his deck would be faced off against other monstrous decks like Handlock, for example, if he gets kind of like bad matchups. So Shaman would be a good way to plug that hole. As a result, this noticeable weakness has been haunting Trump as now he has no way to stop Miracle Rogue from doing anything it wants. Warrior is also a very passive class early on, and Trump's playing a little greedy. He's playing Sarah, Baron, Black Knight, and like Sylvanas and all in Karen, and he's cutting cards like Whirlwind and Cruel Taskmaster.
Yeah, this is certainly not a situation you want to find yourself in. Not only right now you have a bad matchup versus this Miracle Rogue, you will have to win 4 more games. You will have to go 4-0 with this Warrior deck, where the deck is certainly greedy and poised to fight versus other control decks. So right now Trump is in a very difficult situation, and he will have to use all his preparation, all his skill to be able to 4-0 hype, where the odds are actually against him.
All right, well, game number 4 is about to begin. Trump needs to 4-0 right here if he wants to stay in the tournament. Otherwise, Hyped will advance to the grand finals to face off against Colento. And I think it's a cool story for those two guys, but Hype's not there just yet. Trump still has one last life. But what a hand to start us off. He has Gadgetzan Auctioneer, the most important card in the deck, especially against a control slow deck like Warrior. And he's even got Preparation.
Do you think he's thinking about like mulliganing Backstab against Warrior? Backstab is not that useful. You would probably prefer to have SI7 or Farseer.
But Backstab is important to have as the... because Backstab is your coin, essentially, when you go first, especially for Van Cleef or SI7, like you said. He's picking up cards that work really good with Backstab, too. Azure Drake is great. Shiv allows him to tackle like an important 3-health minion.
Yeah, it's a pretty good hand from Hype. And looking at Trump's hand, he has the early game as well. He has Unstable Ghoul, he has Acolyte of Pain, which will be important. He will be able to draw a couple of cards from Acolyte of Pain. He should be able to draw a couple of cards from it. So right now he don't, even though his deck is super greedy, he didn't get all those greedy cards like the big legendaries. He will draw them eventually, but right now he has cards that he is actually able to play and deal some damage. What's the game plan for Trump against Miracle Rogue? Are you racing, or are you just trying to armor up as much as possible and tackle the threats?
Though. Like, racing against Miracle Rogue requires you to have a little bit of pressure options, but you're not playing any 3 or 4 drops that can pressure, like Frothing Berserker or Korkrons. You're not playing, you're not playing Cruel Taskmaster, so that way you can buff your creatures to do a little more damage. By the way, I'm actually also surprised that Trump opted to play Unstable Ghoul this early, as he's probably trying to take advantage of pressure, but oftentimes Warriors also feeling like they want to armor up as much as possible against Miracle Rogue, so that way they can be safe from the burst ranges. As much as you put damage, the Unstable Ghoul is not much pressure at all.
Yeah, because Miracle Rogue has a finite amount of damage that they can deal. At some point, they just run out of cards. So if you keep armoring up and just answering the threats, there is a slight chance that they will actually run out of steam and won't be able to kill you. The other thing is, like, this slow Warrior is in such a disadvantage. Do you remember the times when the Miracle Rogue was the best deck? The Warrior actually changed. It was running Korkrons, it was running Azure Drakes. It was able to put a lot of pressure with those cards, especially to be able to race Miracle Rogue. Right now, with cards like Sludge Belcher and all the late game cards, you're pretty slow.
Yeah, I remember a couple weeks ago, Nimsh, don't worry.
Okay.
Lothar, by the way, is being held because Death's Bite doesn't want Death's Bite to get full value and kill off his 5-health minion. And he's also waiting just a little bit longer so we can get more spells in combination with Gadgetzan. The quality of hand for Hype is so far superior to that of Trump. He's got 3 weapons, and he's got really passive cards that don't do much, like Faceless Manipulator and Black Knight. They're very reactive.
On the other hand, Hype doesn't have the Conceal yet. He might be able to draw into it, But you know, sometimes he is running only one conceal, and if conceal is the last card, he might be forced to play a different strategy. Just play the minions, try to deal as much damage with the mid-game minions he has. But well, Trump has a lot of stuff, and right now Trump is kind of racing.
That's true. The weapons are burn damage. You have what, 14 damage in weapons alone. So maybe if you can kind of push out a little bit more, you can force out a lot. But I think that's the only course of action you have, especially if he picks up Gromosh in the next couple of turns. Maybe that's an opportunity for Trump to press for damage and win the game. Who knows?
That Baron, by the way, is pretty nice, because right now he will be able to... Well, that's the question. What do you actually do? Do you kill Lothep here? Or do you play... Your Faceless might be nice as well. You just get a 5/5 minion. You attack for free. You play Fire War Axe and attack for 3 more. So you put your opponent at 15 points of health. And you still have Death's Bite, which is 8 points. And you still have a Taunt. So you're in a position where you're developing your board. I think Baron is also a fine card.
All right, well, Hype's going to have to start doing something here. He's taking a lot of damage, and he's played this very slow as well. But he's got almost a full hand.
It is certainly a Gadgetzan turn. Even without a swipe, just want to get the value from the preparation and sap and just draw as many cards as possible.
Wonder if Trump also has the ability to set up Death Spice. So if he top decks Gromosh, he can just burst him down with the combos. Div ends up drawing 2 cards. Van Cleef, Hype still looking for other ways to potentially end the game like Leroy. That is one very important card.
Yeah, thinking about possibilities right now. we have to... Well, the cards are changing so fast that we have to allow Hype to actually draw all those cards. But double Deadly Poison is something that's really scary. He is able to clear, and he will be able to push with damage with his Lotheb. Dustram has a card that's actually able to remove Gadgets and Auctioneer. He can attack into
he
it,
has
but...
Death Bite, but then you're taking 4 damage right back.
Yeah, the
you might have to
turn
just,
was...
like Death Bite and Shield block here.
That's certainly a play.
He draws Execute.
On the other hand, I'm sure you're sad because you are so close to killing your opponent, and this Death's Bite is 8 points of damage, so you need only to deal 5 more.
But if he survives and he top decks Gromosh, and his opponent doesn't heal, that's actually game, and Hype is very well aware of that. But how much damage does he have? He's got Leroy, he's got Cold Blood, that's 10, 14, 19. And with Hero Power, that should be 20. I think Hype has it right here, and he is going to advance to the Grand Finals by a score of 4-0. And Trump will once again fall in the semifinals.
Oh my god, this is a sick match. I mean, Trump was disadvantaged, but for a moment, I had hope. He played really aggressively, and he had a chance to actually kill Hype, but then this Miracle turn, just again and again with Miracle Rogue, just draw so many cards. You have so many free cards, you just deny your opponent any chance of winning, and then push like a crazy amount of 20 points of damage almost from an empty board. This deck is just incredible, and yeah, as you said, it was really an error from the Trump side that he didn't have a good counter. He did have a chance to actually steal a win against this Miracle Rogue if Hype will have bad luck and didn't get an auctioneer and maybe make mistakes. But Hype didn't make any mistakes, and Trump didn't really have a good counter to stop this deck. And here we see Miracle Rogue coming back, even though mostly control decks are being played right now. Miracle Rogue is still a very strong contender, especially in the hands of a player like Hyped, who played more than 1,000 games with this deck, more than 1,000 wins, and is consistently getting the first place on NA ladder with this specific deck.
All right, well, that does it for the semis. The finals will be Colento versus Hyped. And I think this is a really cool story because you have Colento, who is the ladder god from EU, and you have Hype, the ladder god from North America, and they will go toe-to-toe in the grand finals for the best of 7. Before we go to break, we want to remind you guys to enter for your chance to win the Zeus Mini. Check out the link at the bottom of the Twitch channel, or if you type giveaway into the chat and find out more information about VGVN. They've been involved in esports for a few years, and they're just trying to do their best to let you guys know and raise awareness about unfair legislation pegged at video games in the United States and fighting in the Supreme Court. You can find out more information. Signing up takes less than a minute, and then you are eligible to win this cyber-powered PC. We'll take a quick few minutes to get ready for the last series of the day, Clento versus Hyped, when we return to the VGVN Next Famous Fleet Tournament number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the grand finals of VGVN Next Randomness Release Tournament number 2. Before we go into the match ceremonies, we want to remind you guys about the opportunity to play in the next tournament. If you're watching and you say, hey, I think I could be one playing Hyped or Colento in the finals next time you guys are having a tournament, go ahead and register for the Open that's starting next Sunday on September 7th. Go to liquidhearth.com and sign up for Europe or North America region, and one seed from both will get one of the 2 spots in the Open, as well as the other 6 invites, 2 from this tournament and 4 in addition to what we've just seen. Imsh also will tell you a little bit about some of the other cool stuff coming up, including an AMA.
So guys, the winner of this final will actually have an AMA on Liquid Hearth, so definitely check that out. And by the way, I'm hyped for this final. I'm hyped, I'm Colentoed. Those are the best players in the world, and they consistently prove that. A lot of people say, Frodan, that, hey, those people, those players that we invite to those tournaments, they are just being invited and they didn't achieve anything. And look here, like Colento and Hype, those players are consistently the first players on ladder, and in fact, those are the guys who are actually locked for top 16 for BlizzCon qualifier, respectively for their regions. Hyped is locked for a first place NA for sure. Even we don't know the results of the current month, but even if the results come in, Hyped is still locked for the first place as being a seed for the top 16 of the BlizzCon qualifier for NA. In Colento, possibly a second place or first place, depending on his score and his finish this month. So, well, looking at ladder, best players in the world, and right now they will be clashing here in the final of the best of 7 tournament. And well, I'm just amazed. Like, those players are really like the top of the top, and I'm sure we'll have a splendid game.
I cannot wait to start this series. Before we do, though, we want to remind you one last time about your chance to enter for the raffle about the Zeus Mini Cyberpower PC. Just go to the link at the bottom of the Twitch page, or the one that you see right here as we go into the band screen and figure out what these guys have chosen to veto for the series. It's been Hunter all the way for both these guys. And of course, as we look at it right now, it seems like Hunter has been banned on both sides, leaving Hyped with the Miracle Rogue, his Druid, his Mage deck, and Warrior, and Colento bringing his own Druid, along with Shaman, Priest, and Paladin. Now, we're going to see a little bit of a mirror, but it's got some different flavors into it. For example, as much as we see Echoing Ooze and Defender of Argus as one of the main combos, we see Echoing Ooze and Mark the Wild for Hyped. And he's choosing not to go for Defender of Argus, instead using other tech cards like Big Game Hunter in his Druid deck.
Certainly an interesting build. One of his own, obviously, different than the build that Colento is running. And I'm really interested to see like how much of a mirror is it and how much difference the Defender of Argus is doing, because we discussed it before. Defender of Argus is one of the key cards in this Cloud9 Druid that Colento was running. And it really worked. Many times this card was doing a lot and bringing insane value to the combinations of cards that he's using. And the Hyped actually decided not to play it. He is running Big Game Hunter, so he makes this matchup a bit better against Handlock or against the decks that are actually running big minions. But I'm not sure how it will actually fare against and Colento really stable build. On the other hand, this matchup is all about innervates and about a start and trades, a lot of decision making, what to kill, when to push with damage. So certainly a pretty interesting game. And by the way, we are not going to see Hunter anymore in this tournament for sure. Hunter was denied this tournament. I think like yesterday Hunter did 0-1. This is the score that we had yesterday. So I guess Hunter is not the OP class. Balanced. 100% losses.
Yeah. Well, no, in Group B, we had several Hunter games where there was a pretty lopsided series because of Hunter, but sometimes Hunter doesn't win all the time. And either way, it's not going to be a factor in this series. Game number 1 is about to begin with Druid versus Druid, and boy, will it be an important one, because then you get to get the advantage of picking classes in stronger matchups as opposed to you not having the final say. Hyped is going to be starting off on the coin with Innervate, so it seems to be a very explosive start, but he doesn't have some of those early game minions just yet, other than being able to push out something very early on turn with a 5-mana cost card.
Well, he has Innervate and Coin, which is pretty cool, but on the other hand, Colento has the Haunted Creeper, he has Harvest Golem, and he has Wrath, which will help him to ensure the early game start. And he has Ancient of Lore as a card to refill on turn 7. So it looks pretty good for Kolento, even though Hype actually got a Harvest Golem, which will be really important here. Is he going to innervate Harvest Golem? That's the thing. Oh, he decides not to.
I feel like putting out something on turn 2 that's 5 mana cost. You have Harvest Golem on turn 3, or even if you have something on turn 4 mana cost next turn, you can innervate out that, and then push out Harvest Golem on turn 3, and then have coin into a 5-drop. So Hype has a couple of choices here.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like the Spectral Knight play. Certainly, it's hard. It's really hard to remove Spectral Knight. Wrath won't work on him. So what are you even going to do here, being Kolento? So just attack for 2 and see the Spectral Knight slaughtering the Uzis next turn.
You might have to just ignore and let your board presence just kind of carry you, and really hope he doesn't have something like Swipe to continue to like fight the board. Hyped also is picking up other creatures to fill out his curve. It's so important that if you're playing Innervate, that you have a way to kind of fix out your curve. Otherwise, if you're just hero powering, then you effectively wasted your Innervate turn.
He was also able to pick up Ancient of Lore, which is pretty important because now the hand size and the card quality for both players is pretty even. But because of the Innervate, it seems like Hyped is actually winning the board position.
One thing that is important to note is that Kolento will be an additional mana compared to his opponent. He is going to have to Wrath and trade it a little bit. So that way he's not losing too much damage. But he will be hitting his combo turn a little bit earlier than Hype. That's something to keep in note. It seems like it'll come down to one of these really explosive finishes.
What do you think about those Uzis, by the way? When it was first introduced, the card didn't seem that exciting. It's just a 1/2 that copies itself, maybe a combo potential, but here we can see that even though it's not being buffed, it's still a full board, and it's kind of swipe proof as well, because Swipe will not be able to remove it that well.
Yeah, I like Echoing Ooze a lot, although sometimes it kind of unimpresses me. I like the fact that it makes the board pretty annoying to deal with, but when you're playing like this deck against Paladin and then they consecrate you with no Defender of Argus or any way to buff it, it feels a little inconsequential. I sometimes feel like it's like the miniature version of Razorfin Hunter, which is the 3-drop that summons the 1/1 boar. But this, with the combo potentials that you have on its effects, it's pretty cool. Like the Mark of the Wild, for example, on Echoing Ooze puts out 2, 3, 4 taunters for 4 mana. It's pretty bananas.
Also, I think like the mana difference is actually making all the difference in the world here. Like, because this costs only 2, and Razor for Hunter is 3 mana. Look at Unleash the Hounds. How good it was when it was 2 mana, and now it's 3 mana. It's still good, but it's very different.
True, and it inserts into a slot of the deck mana-wise that it's very easy for Druid to kind of sneak in. 2 mana allows him to always have the opportunity to innervate things out. And Hyped is also going to start playing cleanup, by the way, because there's just way too many threats. He doesn't want to have the displeasure of dying to Savage Roar very quickly, as we saw Trump be a victim to that.
And he picks Shade of Naxxramas, pretty nice. Now he will be able to play Shade and Haunted Creeper, or Lothep, depending on what he really wants to do. And this is what we talk about. Decisions. What are you going to do? Are you going to trade? Are you going to kill Haunted Creeper and kill the spiders? And open yourself for Swipe? Are you going to push with 4 points of damage? Well, right now he actually decides to trade, because after playing Lothep, Swipe will not be played, so he is in a good position. And those Uzis are so annoying, with Spectral Knight being forced to trade to attack into them at some point. They're just tanking damage.
Yeah, and this really disincentivizes Hype from just allowing to play something like Lothep, because then the Oozes are able to trade into Spectral Knight pretty easily. And generally speaking, it seems like when a Druid player is able to capitalize on Innervate early, that his opponent is going to be thrown off the rest of the game, but Kolento has managed to seize back the board.
Savage Roar. Savage Roar is such a good card in here. Is so much damage, and that Shade of Naxxramas, which is only a 2/2, is really not exciting that now. So Kolento is able to push Hyped to 13 points of health, which is in range. And next turn he will just play Ancient Flora and refill his hand. He has the board, he has an advantage, he has the tempo, he has everything he needed here.
Yeah, and that's why there is something to be said for having that extra mana. He's going to be hitting his Ancient of Lores quicker. He's going to have a 5/5 that needs to be answered on the board. And Kolento is going to have this opportunity to draw into this game-ending combos.
Another Shade of Naxxramas. That Shade of Naxxramas can actually stay on board and patiently grow. And Savage Roar again. Savage Roar with Shade is so cool.
With Savage Roar, I think you just pass then, right? Because then you have the damage next turn if you can't answer it.
Yeah. I think you just pass unless you feel like you can maybe draw into something. Oh, that's fine as well, I guess.
He's being safe and making sure to not allow his opponent to have any way of coming back. Then Hyped has to use this Ancient of Lore more as a heal as opposed to draws. And that feels so bad. Because, again, he is the one that's... now the card advantage is evened out. But then Kolento also has ways to pressure. He draws a second Ancient of Lore. Kolento is so far ahead now.
Yeah, and he can easily draw cards. There's no way to... no need to heal. And he can even push with damage here. He can just ignore this 5/5. He has so much advantage. And he put Hyped in a position where Druid never wants to be in. And a position where you have to defend yourself and clear the board at the same time. And in this situation, you're kind of in a situation where you have to play only one card each turn. He gets a Keeper of the Grove, so he will be able to swipe and Keeper. But doesn't even work well. I guess he can clear. But he knows that next turn is turn 9, and if Kolento has the full combo, again, Force of Nature plus Savage Roar, he's just dead.
Which means Lotheb will have to kind of be played, but your opponent's still pressing for damage, and there are ways to put in other damage besides just spells. It's looking pretty bad for Hyped, especially if a turn like Spectre Knight and Defender of Argus comes out. I don't know how Hyped can kind of come back from this position.
I think that a possible play was to actually play Keeper of the Grove and swipe and just gamble your life away. Like, if there is a combo, I'm dead, but if there is no combo, maybe I can actually survive.
Picking up the Druid Claw, it makes an even better choice to put out 11 damage, and now swipe to the face is lethal, even if he clears the board. Hyped is no longer really being able to stay in this game. There's just way too much pressure.
This only proves how strong this Druid is. Like, both of the Druid decks here are so powerful. And Hype is in a situation where he has to hope that there is no swipe on his opponent's side, but it looks bad for him. He's just dead.
There it is. Kolento takes game number 1 and wins the mirror match, and Hyped will have to turn to something else. And getting the series lead is very important, so you can always pick the right counter deck into a good matchup percentage. Hyped immediately goes for his warrior deck, which, you know, having like the slow taunts and the big minions to kind of answer the faster druid is one way to deal with it, but I'm always in the back of my mind afraid of how Innervate and Savage Roar can always shred apart your armor as a warrior, and you're never able to use Shield Slam. You might just die really fast.
Oh yeah, certainly. He has a lot of answers though. He has a lot of cards that are helpful, like Armor Smith, Unstable Ghoul, a lot of life gain as well. But he has to draw into them. If after the mulligan he's stuck with cards like Kel'Thuzad or Cairn, Sylvanas, if he never sees his Sludge Belchers, he might put himself in a situation where he's just looking Kolento in the eyes and then waiting for the final blow. And Kolento's deck is so stable. If he is not getting a 2-drop, it means that it's a really bad draw, but mostly he is getting those 2-drops. And sometimes even he gets those sick openings that we've seen in a Kolento versus Trump game, where he just opens with his whole hand, playing 6 minions at the same time. Or 5 minions, like double Ooze and Haunted Creeper.
Yeah, the Echoing Oozes definitely did work there, just, again, making it really difficult. Hyped also got pretty unlucky after the first start where he drew like all the heaviest cards in his deck without ways to kind of he didn't have access to the lower end cards, and I think Colento also leveraged his board position very nicely. Now Hyped goes into game number 2 with his warrior deck. Let's find out if it's able to keep up with the druid pace, or is he going to get roared out of the game. In true Colento fashion, in Cloud9's deck building has proven strong. I think it's actually fun that it's like a Tempo Storm versus Cloud9, two of the top teams in Hearthstone, and the casters are from Cloud9 and Tempo Storm as well. So there's a little rivalry going on.
Rigged.
Oh, certainly. Hype picks a Fiery War Axe, which is an important card to answer most of the threats early game, but the Death Rattle minions do make this card pick up way less value, but it's important for Cruel Taskmaster to also clean up stuff.
Yeah, Cruel Taskmaster is definitely a cool card, as well as Fiery War Axe. But Alexstrasza will be a dead card mostly. By turn 9, the game might be actually over. So it will be interesting to see if the card is being used. On the other side, Colento, a pretty strong Innervate and to Harvest Golem. He has Haunted Creeper, so he has a follow-up, and he will be able to deal damage. Well, basically, the first turns are mostly about pressure and trying to limit the damage from Druid as much as possible. And Hype really wants the for turn 5 to hit as soon as possible. And then Faceless is also a cool card, because if Sludge Belcher remains undamaged, or like if it stays at almost full health, he will be able to use Faceless as like a third Sludge Belcher in his deck to be able to stop Colento's advance.
Hype's going to need a little bit more help here with his draws, but unfortunately there's a lot of bad draws that can come into his hand right now because of the nature of this warrior deck. So far he's just got really nothing to do.
Shieldblock is a nice pickup because turn 4 was kind of dead. Right now, Shieldblock is a card he can play.
It also feels slightly dead because of, I mean, you do draw and you cycle, but then you're not really able to kind of capitalize on the armor because most likely it'll go down. In fact, Hype is passing here with the armor up, so that way he can use Shield Block, Shield Slam against cards like Ancient of Lore or Lotheb. Just kidding, you can't use it against Lotheb because of the spells, but in the future turns if something like that opportunity comes.
Certainly a smart play, and right now he doesn't feel that threatened. He knows that he will be playing good cards like the Sludge Belcher on turn 5, maybe Faces into something on turn 6. For sure, Alexstrasza and the Black Knight are kind of dead right now, but the Shield Block will come in handy. Death Spite. Oh, Faces into a 4/6 Spectral.
Okay, that's one way to fight against the board. Keep in mind, Black Knight also does get value now that Defender of Argus wants to go down on so many of these targets, and Colento is aware of that. If you play Defender of Argus on Spectral Knight, it's resistant against pretty much everything except a Black Knight. Or a silence of some sort with a battle cry. So he has to be very mindful not to overextend onto the board like that.
Well, right now Colento can just push, play Shade of Naxxramas, Shapeshift, and attack Warrior for 8. Because even if the Spectral Knight kills the Shade of Naxxramas, you still have Keeper of the Grove that will be able to just deal 2 points of damage to the Spectral Knight and finish it. Hype dropping to 15 points of health.
Ooh, well, he's trying to get ahead of it, pay his life now, so that way he can even utilize Swipe next turn, because Spectral Knight won't likely be healing. And this is really intelligent once again from Colento, so that way his cards can be optimized, and he doesn't have to worry about the Spectral Knight in the future turns.
That's something that the top players are using. It's called preemptive shapeshift. So you are attacking with shapeshift so that you set up your play for the next turn where you will be able to use shapeshift again to your advantage. It's it seems simple, but it's actually very complicated to be able to play it in a good way and use it. So pretty smart play from Colento here. He set up the board in a way that's useful for him, and just continues to remove the cards that Hype is playing and putting Hype really low.
By the way, Colento has Savage Roar, which means Hype could die as soon as next turn if he doesn't do anything or draw into a very critical card here.
Well, I feel like Shieldblock is the card you want to play right now.
Yeah, it's not pretty, but you have to kind of play defensive as much as possible. Maybe pick up something like Undead Ghoul, at least to throw inside the path and gain a little health. Hype's in a really difficult spot, though.
Another option is to just play Black Knight, but just, you know, to have a body on board. But still, it's 7 points of damage, 8 points of damage you're staring at. So 6 left. With Shapeshift, it's 5. So I think you must actually do something defensive here, because you might be staring at that Savage Roar, which will be lethal. Yeah, Death Bite. It's pretty annoying that Death Bite actually doesn't work. It's you can't attack into anything and have value. You will be able to do it next turn. But wait, is that it? How much damage is this?
That's 8 plus 6, 14 plus 2 from the Defender of Argus for Keeper. That's going to be a little bit short, as Hype's at 19 health. But I think in the overall picture, how are you able to kind of weather this storm? Grommash can come as removal, but then Hype's still losing health next turn. Can't even execute cleanly.
If you play Grommash, kill the 4/4, kill the 4/5, you're dead anyway. Is there a way? Like Lotheb, again, a snowball card. You just put yourself in a position where you're winning, and then you play Lotheb to ensure your win next turn. Is going to play Grommash, but that's it if I'm counting correctly.
It should be, because Savage Roar is able to win the game, and Hype realizes that there's no way for him to escape out of this one, which means Kolento jumps out to a 2-0 lead. It's been one-sided for this Druid deck that Kolento's been pushing out, as I believe this is his 9th game that he's won with the Druid deck, at least, or maybe even 10th. I've kind of lost count at this stage. Kolento's up to a 2-0 lead.
Well played from for both players, but Kolento is really using that Druid in an excellent manner. He knows all the matchups, and it's also hard to play against it if you haven't tested against it. And I feel like this deck wasn't that popular lately. I mean, it got popular when Kolento published it on Twitter, but at the day the tournament was played, I'm not sure if Haup was actually able to play many games against it. Well, right now he pretty much knows the list, but still, how do you answer this? How do you play around Shade of Naxxramas? What's important, what's not important? Even though the deck seems pretty simple, there is a lot of decisions that you have to make. Like, do I attack into Echoing Goose, or do I leave it? Like, do I life gain, or do I clear? What do I actually do against it? And right now, Hype is taking his trusted Miracle Rogue that was pretty deadly versus Trump.
Yeah, he needs this deck to beat the Druid deck. And if he can, just look at the rest of the classes that Kolento has. It feels like the Miracle Rogue also is favored against the rest of Kolento's lineup, but this Druid deck is capable of giving Miracle Rogue one hell of a time. If you innervate out Spectral Knight, then they aren't able to really deal with it, and you just keep pushing for damage, and Savage Roar ends the game. Just the kind of same game plan that you have every single time, that classes have a difficult time removing your minions, and you're able to press in. Game number 3 is about to begin. Hype needs to win here, or Kolento will jump out 3-0. And I almost feel like it's almost impossible to come back from that scenario, because Hype will have to win 4 with his Mage deck, which seems to be one of those specialty snipe decks as opposed to one that can clean sweep an opponent.
Well, on the other hand, he actually got Gadgetzan and a coin, so it seems like a good start. He's thinking about keeping Farseer as well, I believe. He's mulliganing Farseer. So SA7, oh my god, this is the best starting hand I've seen in this situation.
Well, look at Kolento's hand. He's got turn 3 Spectral Knight. He's got turn 2 Echoing Ooze, turn 3 Spectral Knight. And then if he picks up Defender of Argus, like in the next 2 draws, that would be absolutely devastating, because I don't know how Hype would be able to answer all of it.
Well, Kolento needs more minions, for sure. Just Echoing Goose and Spectral Knight is not enough. He has free spells in his hand, so he needs something else. And Hyped, how is he going to play here? Is he going to play SA7 right now? Coin backstab SA7? I feel like that's you're losing too much. Maybe just coin SA7.
Yeah, the backstab will still be there. There's no way for... Well, there is a way for Druid to buff it, but it's very unlikely that he'll innervate out any kind of defender of Argus. So you still have an opportunity to backstab. You're not really worried about that 1 damage. All right, Kalento picks up a 4-cost minion, which is important to stay on curve, so that way you're able to continue to pressure.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice pickup. And Hyped is in a situation where might have to use his backstep here. Is he able to clear the 4-6? I don't think so.
Not as far as I see. Even if you use Shadow Step and like hero power, it's gonna be tricky.
Yeah, it's how do you even kill it now? Because if being Miracle Rogue, you have to kill it with minions, and Kalento as the Keeper of the Grove, it's so good for him.
Yep.
The Spectral Knight might be
He needs
just win the game.
He needs Blade Flurry and something else. Gnomish Inventor can add some damage. He's got spell power for way to continue to peck it apart, but I was telling you, Spectral Knight, one of the hardest cards for Miracle Rogue to ever deal with. SI7 Ancient and Shadow Steps might be the way to kill it off here.
And he picks up Harvest Golem, which is perfect with the Wrath he's holding. So he's able to clear the 2-4, play Harvest Golem, extend his board, and attack with a 4-6. He's actually going for the Savage play.
Okay.
I guess he's
constantly pressuring his opponent, and he's making sure that this Spectral Knight takes or does the most damage as possible. I like it. You know, most players again would go for a little bit of a setup, but Kalento is going for the win here.
He's also playing around Blade Flurry, which is the only way to actually answer that Spectral Knight. But here, what do you even do? And right now, the Keeper of the Grove can't even be backstabbed. Do you fun of knives and do you play
the Gadgetzan? Draw and Gadgetzan pulls you out of this one. He draws Preparation, number 2. He can do some cool stuff. Gets Sap. Again, Spectral Knight's so resistant to these kinds of things. And he's trying to force the Spectral Knight to trade into the Gadgetzan, but this is Kalento's opportunity to swipe it and continue to press for damage.
That Spectral Knight is just going to finish this game.
Exactly. From start to finish, this guy has gone untouched because Miracle Rogue cannot do anything because Kalento's drawn the perfect removal to answer every single minion on the board.
And Hype doesn't have a Deadly Poison. He doesn't have the Blade Flurry. He has no way to answer this Spectral Knight. And that's almost it. Kalento has 8 points of damage next turn.
You got 9 actually with the Druid, the Claw, and Hero Power. I don't know if he can pull us out of this one. Kalento is going to put him down to 1 HP. And Hype looks like he's going to drop 0-3. And Kalento's aggression, once again, is in danger of ending this series early.
This is so incredible. The turn 3 Spectral Knight just single-handedly killing Miracle Rogue. I'm sure that Hype is feeling so helpless right now.
He's kind of able to do something finally, but the 1 damage is gonna be a lot because he can't really stop that 1 damage from coming down, no matter what he tries to do. If he was a little bit more health, maybe. But now Hyped is down 0-3 and has to turn to his Mage deck. And let me tell you, Mage against a fast Druid that has heals and taunt capabilities is gonna be a little tough for Hyped here.
And how does Mage actually fare against that Druid, then Shaman, then Priest, and then Paladin? Do you think Hyped actually has a shot for a 4-0 here with this Mage?
I want to say there's a possibility. You know, Frost Nova and Doomsayer is one way, I guess, to answer things like Shade of Naxxramas and Spectral Knight. But it's the same concept as what Druid has against normal Freeze Mage. Keeper of the Grove is great against Doomsayer. Spectral Knight is resistant to any kind of spells. The fact is you can heal out of range of like a lot of potential burn, even if you feel like you're out of threat. If your opponent has a big threat with fireballs. And you have combo-ending damage with Savage Roar. Druid's one of the best decks to bring against Mage in general.
Also, it seems that Hyped actually, he doesn't run any taunt givers. He has a couple of taunts, but mostly has a lot of slow cards. So if he is not able to draw into any early game, he might have a serious trouble. And then he has a lot of cards that actually don't have taunts. So, you know, playing Kern on turn 6 or playing Sylvanas on turn 6 might be just a dead play that won't stop Kolento from just winning the game right there.
Yep, this is the deck that StrifeCrow has given Kolento, and Kolento was able to use it to climb to #1 in EU. And now he is in prime position just to end this series 4-0 in dominant fashion. He's won, I don't even know, he won 7 games in the pre-games, in the group stages, and now 3 here. Kolento is just destroying this entire tournament with this deck. And now Hyped has to go to Mage. Let's go to Game 4 and find out if Hype can turn us around. It's only been 20 minutes since the final has started, and yet it's almost over.
Well, it's playing against Kolento. Last time I was playing against Kolento in France. In 20 minutes, I lost 500 euros because he eliminated me from the top 3. So that was pretty tough.
I can imagine so. Hype has a pretty okay start. He's got Twilight Drakes and Arcane Intellects, but he's going to need a little bit more help. The nice thing is that this Mage deck does have some AoE clears like Flame Strikes, Blizzards, Frost Nova against delay, but couldn't he stop Kolento's aggression?
Well, right now he got the cards that we mentioned. The cards that are pretty much dead. Twilight Drake is... it's good that he has Arcane Intellect, because he will be able to draw into something, maybe. Sludge Belcher, also a card that he wanted to draw. Twilight Drake might do some trading, but on the other hand, attacking with your Twilight Drake into those 1-2 oozes just feels so painful. And Kolento's hand is pretty good. He has almost everything he needs. And Blizzard and Flame Strike are pretty nice. Good pickups here.
Yeah, don't forget that Molten Giants are also one of those things where if you get Ice Block, Molten Giants, Druids, or at least Kolento is not running something like Big Game Hunter. And if you can't take care of all those Giants, there are opportunities for you to swing. Hype is also piecing together some of his AoE removals in combination with Doomsayer.
Well, if Hype actually gets Frost Nova next turn, it might be pretty good for him. There is no Keeper of the Grove for Kolento, so a Frost Nova Doomsayer might be deadly. But right now he has to think what I'm going to do. What is the follow up? What is Hype actually playing?
Like, well, this is a test for Keeper of the Grove right here, because most likely Keeper of the Grove goes down on Twilight Drake, and then you just lose your 4-drop for one of these Echoing Oozes. But now he doesn't see anything like that, so I think Doomsayer is going to be much more empowered. He's going to need a top deck Keeper of the Grove.
He's turn 5. Sludge Belcher is a good card here, and yeah, this is what I mentioned. Like attacking into into a half of a card. The Twilight Drake. It seems so wasteful. So being
okay,
Kolento
picks up Carvus Golem, which isn't exactly great at the moment. Druid the Claw just kind of outmeasures it. You can push for more damage.
Do you think he is expecting Blizzard this turn? Could be.
I think this deck's already proven it's kind of unique. Ooh. You know, that move is actually not going to pay off whatsoever because Blizzard's going to pretty much take everything out except for the 2-1 damage golem. Yeah, Kolento not really accounting for this. Trying to keep Echoing Ooze as healthy as possible so that way he can have a 1-2 and spread out damage. But now Hyped has a chance here because he's taken away a lot of the aggression and only 5 damage has been dealt.
That's certainly true, and Hyped still has a lot of cool cards in his hand. He will be able to use Flame Strike a couple of turns in the future. Right now, he took out the board, so he is able to play some cards which are a bit slower. He has 22 points of health, which is still fine. He should he should feel safe. He can play his current to develop the board and not lose that much health on from Kolento. So, well, it would be too far-fetched to say that it's looking good for Hyped. But certainly he was able to stop the early advance, and maybe this will put himself in a position that has actually advantages.
Yeah, if you're in Hype's position too, you need to also be mindful of ways your opponent can just end the game soon. So eventually you're going to have to drop Ice Block.
How much are you afraid of Salvador?
Very. There's 2 copies most likely in the deck. Savage Roar off the top, if you just kill off 1 minion, is 6 plus the 6 here, so 12. And then with like Swipe, you might just die here.
Yeah, it certainly will be very close.
Yep.
So, well, Flame Strike would be awkward. So definitely, I wouldn't cast Flame Strike. Just, I guess, draw the cards. Duplicate seems fine as well. Maybe draw cards first, see what you get, and then decide.
Hey, you still might get Frost Nova Doomsayer or something equivalent to that.
Well, no Frost Nova for him.
Yeah, Ice Block feels like it has to come down. I love the choice of Doomsayer. It's another way to just gain health. Most likely it'll die. But even then, you're still kind of setting up so that way he has to choose between giving up his board or giving yourself a little life. Unless he has Twilight Drake. Or sorry, not Twilight Drake. Keeper of the Grove.
Good thing for Hyped is that if Doomsayer triggers, Bane will be actually able to attack. Or no, wait, he won't be able to attack because it's start of turn. So Colento can actually ignore the Doomsayer. He can attack for 6, maybe play Harvest Golem even. Shapeshift.
Is he sensing something like Ice Block or Molten Giants, you know? And then is he taxed too far deep into it? He's going to deal with a huge Molten Giant turn. And then all of a sudden, he doesn't have enough removal for all the Giants, and he hasn't popped Ice Block. And it gets a little scary. Konto, by the way, tests for Mirror Entity, but he sees it doesn't. The secret is not triggered.
So yeah, he's choosing to go for phase actually. Would you expect Molten Giants here? Because Molten Giants are kind of like a deck card. It's really hard to say if they are somewhere in the deck or not. And if Frost Nova finally comes.
Oh man, Frost Nova.
This turn will be huge. He can play so many good cards. He can play double Molten, Duplicate, and Frost Nova.
Can he fit all of that? Oh, he's gonna be a little mana short.
4, 7. Can he do it if he pings his face? Like, Fire Blast his face. Own face to play Molten Giants for 1 only.
I don't think so. One thing to kind of keep in mind, though, is that this deck is more of a surprise factor. The fact that now you see Molten Giants, Colento has a few games, even if he loses this one, he has a few games to kind of figure out a way around it and make sure to play to avoid these Molten Giants. Double Swipe, by the way, allows him to deal with one of these Giants, which is very effective. And Hype still has to figure out a way to kill his opponent.
Well, Colento is sitting comfortably on 30 points of health, so he is in a good situation. But he is stopped right now, so his advance was stopped, and Hype is just playing those minions and putting himself in a situation where he has the board, he has the ice block. So Colento will have to draw the combo. With the combo, he will be able to pop the ice block and maybe put himself in a situation where he can win next turn.
All right, well, he's forced to use Force of Nature as removal in order to deny his opponent from being able to get optimal amounts of damage and also kill off Sylvanas before anything else happens. And this is still going to give Hype some opportunity to build up the board a little bit, play Duplicate, and get some traction off of whatever minion dies.
It's interesting how Colento actually slowed down, and right now he's playing more of the board control game. Because he feels like he's safe at 22 points of health. So he clears the board to give himself an opportunity to have a couple of more turns to actually draw the cards and be able to deal those last points of damage. Innervate, pretty nice pickup in here. Playing a Chevlor to draw cards. He will be able to play a Spectral Knight.
Wow. Pair of Spectral Knights and Innervates. And Spectral Knight is a card that Hype can deal with this time around.
Yeah, he has a lot of tools, but he is also running out of cards, and he won't have any ways to draw more. He can get something from Duplicate, but will it be enough?
I mean, this is exactly what Duplicate's for, though. It gives you more minions to play throughout the course of turns. The Twilight Drakes do get stronger if you're able to pile up the cards. But it's a legitimate question. He's used up some of his best minions already. Karen and Sylvanas have already been thrown in.
And double Molten Giant as well. So he is going to just continue building his board and pushing with damage here.
Wow, tempo play. I like it.
Colento is still short of being able to close up on Hyped and be able to get the ice block out. So he is still fighting the board control game.
All right, Lothab does introduce a really big problem because he can't flame strike immediately.
How much damage does he have? It's 10. So he's still short, and we know that he's not running any fireballs or any pyroblast. Cone of Cold. This is a sick.
Oh,
top deck.
Colento didn't play around Cone of Cold.
Oh, he certainly didn't.
Nope, he didn't put his Spectral Knights in the middle, but how many times are you expecting this card to actually do work?
Especially after Lothab.
Yeah. Oh no.
Colento's expression is so sour. And Savage Roar is a cool card, but wait, that's it.
Yeah, he's completely frozen. He can't do anything. And Hyped is going to be able to do 11
He's 1
damage
damage
next
off lethal.
turn. He just needs to pair off another point of damage.
Polymorph is not it, but still, Flame Strike is almost clearing the board. And he can just deal 11 points of damage here. And he still has Ice Block, so he will be super safe. Well, Hyped Mage is actually doing a lot of work.
There you go. He's able to almost guarantee himself a win unless Colento top decks something amazing here.
Ancient Flower is actually amazing, but it's not changing the board state. So Hyped pulled himself, grinded himself into a position where he's actually going to kill Colento's Druid.
Oh man. Well, Colento has learned a great deal about this deck. He's seen double Moltens, he's seen Cone of Cold, he's seen the Twilight Drakes, and actually he hasn't seen the Secrets in action though, but he can suspect one of them is Ice Block. And so now he can go and deconstruct it for other decks that he has.
And he still has 4 more decks?
He has 3 more decks to
more
work
decks.
with. He's got Paladin, Priest, and Shaman. Shaman will be his one of choice. You have ways to combat and pressure early. You have Light Earth Shock also to unfreeze your minions in case you need to push for damage. Seems like a decent choice.
It's like fighting Handlock. You just want to have the Earthshock for Twilight Drake, and you want to have those hexes. But yet again, that duplicate thing, the duplicate play, when even if you Earthshock one Twilight Drake, it can actually return. So
True.
I would definitely give edge to Colento here. But still, Hype is proving all the time that his mage deck is pretty cool. He knows how to play it. That's a very interesting build. And he got to the first place legend in NA with this deck recently. So a potent deck, a potent player against like one of the best players in the world facing now. I'm really hyped for this game.
All right, well, game number 5 is about to begin. Can Hyped complete a 4-3? Or will Colento close it out here? Keep in mind, duplicate is great, but, you know, if you hex and you kill off a minion, they're getting 2/0/1 frogs in their hand.
Well, Colento with a poor start, no coin, no early drops, and Hyped is having a dream hand, let's say. He only needs Arcane Intellect. So no Arcane Intellect, but still Mad Scientist, a pretty good 2-drop. He has the coin, he will be able to drop Water Elemental early. Such Belcher, always a good card on turn 5. And Ragnaros to seal the deal. So a pretty nice hand. On Colento's side, well, it doesn't look that good.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, his mid game seems to have a lot of decent cards, but at least he has ability to totem up and be annoying as possible.
Do you think like we are actually going to see a comeback similar to what Reels did in the last final? So
that would be pretty cool, but it's very difficult against someone like Colento. Colento's been just relatively unstoppable, and people might look at his Druid deck and like, well, is he getting carried just by that Druid deck? He also won 3 in a row against Tice with his Shaman deck and showed proficiency with other kinds of non-Druid decks. So I feel like Colento has a very good chance to just close out the series, but I'm not going to rule out a possibility that Hype comes back here.
Well, certainly Colento is playing all the classes. He is playing so much in so many games in ladder. Well, consistently getting the first place in ladder even after dropping below 100 is such a difficult feat. You really have to know how the metagame works and how all those deck works. So yeah, this might be a pretty tough match for both of those players.
All right. Well, his hand is really starting to pick up in quality. He's got hexes for the inevitable mid-game threats. He's got Azure Drake to keep up going, and Lightning Storm might be really important for how often this mage wants to fight minions on minions.
Sludge Belcher is such an interesting card. Do you hex it? But if you hex it, you know that you have so many good hex targets.
Yeah, you know he has Karen Sylvanas. I mean, he got so much information that he can really start to pick apart what kind of cards he wants to use Hex for.
Yeah, but still, even with information, you might be forced to use it before, even if you don't like it. Like, Sylvanas is definitely target you want to Hex.
True, and I don't know if this is a duplicate, by the way, but I didn't get to see if it was if duplicate was glowing in Hype's hand. If it was, then it's already been played. But if it's Ice Block, then he can't get any copy of it. But the more important thing to note is that if he hexes this and kills it off, he's just going to get 2 frogs in the hand, which is very useless.
Yeah, that would be sick. So it's a good way to play around. But if it's a counter spell, then Colento's in a bind.
That is true. Colento's afraid of counterspell or something similar to it, Spellbender.
Well, you have to take your chances, I guess. Like playing Rockbiter to just test the waters. So is it a duplicate? It's not.
Nope.
So it's
it
a nice
looks
block,
like it's a nice block.
Playing Nerubian instead of... oh, I guess it's fine, yeah.
He's being careful not to overextend into AoE. He's seen Flame Strike, he's seen Blizzard.
And speaking of Flame Strike, so being hyped, you actually missed. You don't have many more minions. It seems like you won't be able to play Ragnaros this turn. You won't be able to play Molten Giant anytime soon. You can't draw any more cards. Seems like your hand is not that good anymore. And on Colento, he still has some drawing potential with no Mission Inventor. He has Feral Spirit as a card that is being played after the AoE is played. He has kind of like an AoE safeguard in form of a Nerubian Egg. So even though he wasn't that aggressive this game, it seems like at this particular turn, he has an advantage.
Yeah, and Hype needs to draw other things, like Arcane Intellect coming into hand would be really important. Molten Giant is still really far away, because surprisingly, Colento hasn't been able to lay a finger on Hype so far.
What to do? What to do?
What do you ping here? Do you ping? Well, I guess he's going for the Nerubian Egg.
Yeah, that's fine, because on turn 9 you will be able to ping it and then cast Flame Strike to remove everything from the board. And by the way, a shout out to our production team, because right now we can see the secret being played on Mage, even though normally it will be hidden behind the overlay.
Oh wow, a healing totem.
Oh, Healing Totem is a really sick totem to get, especially after your opponent takes his time to ping your Nerubian Egg. So he had a plan, and now you nullify it with this totem.
All right, well, now Shaman has a big enough board where Ragnaros has low impact. You don't even have the opportunity necessarily to play 2 Ragnaroses after this because of how strong each board is. He's going to use Frost Nova, so that way Sludge Belcher has an opportunity to pick up good trades. Also, Flame Strike next turn with the hero power might allow him to clear.
Double Feral Spirit is not something you want to have right now, so I guess, yeah, it's just totem up and pass. You're waiting for this AoE to hit.
Wow, this one Sludge is really getting in the way of Hype from being able to get a strong clear. Again, Sludge Belcher overperforming in almost every department.
Yeah, I think I actually put it as the most important card in Naxxramas in my rating. Like when we were rating the Naxxramas cards, Sludge Belcher is the MVP of Naxxramas. Slowing the metagame down single-handedly. Even though, for example, like Lothab is a super strong card, Lothab is more situational, and it's only one copy in most of the decks. And Sludge Belcher, always doing a lot. Do you think like this is the Flame Strike turn? Just clear.
The problem with Flame Strike is you leave up a 4/4 and two 1/1s, and you only kill one of the 1/1s, and Sludge Belcher's vulnerable either way. He's gonna go with Ragnaros.
Oh, this is pretty ballsy.
If this hits the Nerubian egg, it's gonna be disastrous.
A spider kill. It's not that good. So Colento now has an opportunity to. Can he clear this easily? There is a spell +2 spell damage, so this Lightning Storm is dealing from
4 to 5 damage.
From 4 to 5.
Yeah, you can clear. You can pretty much guarantee to clear with Lightning Storm.
Yeah, the Lightning Storm looks good. You want to one-shot the Belcher, and he does, and he hits high on both.
Well, I think either way he was going to use this Rock Biter Spectral Spider in order to kind of trade into it. So Colento okay with the low or the high roll.
Well, he can also play the Sludge Belcher, because he will be playing around the Flame Strike. And he will be getting the 4/4. So Sludge Belcher, I'd say, is a pretty cool play.
If you want to play it really safe, I guess you hero power and try to bait out the Flame Strike. But if your opponent hasn't used it, are you kind of thinking, well, maybe he doesn't have it?
Well, this board has a lot of Flame Strike potential as well. Just allowing Shaman to keep the Azure Drake and a spell damage totem is really good.
Alright, Colento top decks
exactly.
a 5 damage lightning bolt, and that's so powerful once again.
That's why he should actually Flame Strike, I feel. Because
Forge is so strong.
Double spell damage is just too good in Shaman.
Yep, he's back at square one. He actually gained nothing. He only he traded Sludge Belcher effectively for Lightning Bolt.
Well, I feel this is the Flame Strike moment, and you have to kill the Sludge Belcher with the ping. Those Molten Giants just sitting there, not doing anything. Wait, is that it? It seems like Hype is out of spells. He only has minions now, and he can't even play.
He has Blizzard, I think.
Well, he has Blizzard still in his deck, but his hand right now is only minions. And it doesn't look good. He only has one secret, which is Ice Block. I feel like
I don't know if this can be able to be paired together, everything. Colento he doesn't have like the burst, but he's got ways to continue to put on pressure against Mage. The healing totem pretty much offsets things like his hero power. Oh,
Certainly, that healing totem was so important, and right now he gets a taunt.
People are gonna say did Colento miss damage, but now that he's not playing into Molten Giants, there's a very viable reason of why he's not attacking.
So this time he's actually playing around Molten Giants.
Definitely.
I feel he actually missed damage, but still there's so much going on in here. You're reading so far with all the cards that Hype can actually get and play. Do you feel like there is a second Flame Strike? What if there is a Blizzard? What if there is a Blizzard with Foulness? What are the possible cards that Hype can actually play next turn? That's what Colento's thinking.
Hype did use a lot of his freeze too, and Doomsayer is going to continue to lose value. Colento also saw Doomsayer, so he knows to save Earthshock for it. I feel like if you see Twilight Drake, as much as you might feel baited to use Earthshock, should you hold it?
I wonder.
I don't know. It's all tough questions.
Yeah, it's a tough question. Well, I feel like Earthshock is always a good card, especially if you have a board presence and you are able to push with damage. Like even Because killing Twilight Drake is cool, but you have other targets like Doomsayer, Sludge Belcher. Oh wait, this is actually Alakir is pretty interesting here. So he can silence the Doomsayer. How much damage does he have? This is 6, 10, 11.
He's got 17 damage at the moment. So he can just kill off this Doomsayer, be a little more patient, and once again set it up so that way Alec here can be the finishing blow next turn.
This is actually pretty important because Hyped has just lost 2 cards from his hand, so now he's down with 3 cards only. And Colento has a full board. Oh, the Blizzard pickup is pretty nice.
Yeah, that Blizzard is really important to freeze the damage so that way he doesn't get Ice Block pop next turn, but he still can't play Molten Giants. He's supposed to play Molten Giants and Blizzard, like Blizzard plus Doomsayer.
Colento can kind of play the stall game in here.
What to do? What to do?
And he is probably guessing that there is a couple of Molten Giants in his opponent's hand. At least one. Can't even kill the Nerubian.
Oh, not yet, but maybe next turn. Colento's still looking for ways to pair together damage. His mage deck just refuses to die. But I think it's also partially because Colento's been playing very smart and not doing excessive damage and leading into the Molten Giants here.
Also, Colento has no knowledge if there are any taunt givers. Oh, Alexstrasza.
All right, well, Alexstrasza is one way for Hype to kind of surprise kill his opponents.
Molten Giant is a smart play, by the way. It's like saying, "Hey, this is my Molten Giant. I'm tired of waiting." So if Colento takes the bait and actually attacks face, he might enable the second Molten Giant and Alexstrasza turn.
That's true. He can play Molten Giant for very cheap, and then Alexstrasza himself up back to 15.
I wonder.
Short of actually breaking the ice block. I guess you still try to clear the board in here. Doesn't get the spell damage totem. And this is War of Attrition. You are just exhausting your opponent's resources.
Well, you actually are on less resources than your opponent. And with the Molten Giant coming out here and Frostbolt the hero power, Colento actually needs to have like a second Hex come out. Of course, the Taunt Totem is going to do a lot of work and deny the ability to push through it for now. But then when Sludge Belcher comes out, I don't know. There's still a chance for Hype to do this. Colento's running out of cards.
Yeah, I agree. It's actually a pretty interesting situation where Colento exhausted his own resources trying to play around those Molten Giants. But I don't think there was another way for him to actually push. And that ice block is still pretty important. Well, right now he can push, there is not a problem with that. Molten Giants are out of the way, he knows that. He still has Alakir, and if he actually gets a Rockbiter, should be able to pop the ice block then.
Right, but then if he pops it, he still has Alexstrasza to rebound it, and then Shaman needs a second way to burst. And I think we said at the beginning of the tournament, right? Colento doesn't run Doomhammer, so Alakir is his primary way of bursting. Also, I think Hype Tassel has a second duplicate, so he has ways to kind of get more threats. And if he plays his cards correctly, what if he gets just more Molten Giants? Or more Alexstrazzas? And Shaman just keeps bouncing him back up, and he keeps bouncing back up to 15.
By the way, Alakir and Flametongue Totem is pretty nice. Have to think about this as well. Do you want to play it this way? Because then you can clear. Well, you will lose Alakir, but how important it is for you to actually clear in here? Still has a
You're
lot
still not under threat of dying, I think.
Yeah, true. So Kern is also cool. And playing Flametongue. I wonder if this is an Alakir moment. Yes, it is.
Well, he's gonna attack with Alakir first before anything else. Guess he wants to save his Defender of Argus to kind of push through the small token. And then this way he can continue to press in, but he still can't pop the ice block. All right, well, he gives up Alakir, which is one of the most important cards, and I think Hyped can save Polymorph now.
A Doomsayer
off the top.
Interesting.
This game is so scrappy now. It's basically just top deck wars with a couple of trump cards held in both
Oh my
players'
god, and
hands.
Rubinek top deck.
Oh.
Do you even play Kern? Okay, you
Nah,
don't.
I mean, you don't have to. You can take your time. Now you're still putting in pressure. Arcane Intellect off the top is very good for Hyped.
Well, but they are running out of cards, so this war of attrition it will be over soon. When they draw the last cards in their decks.
Well,
What are the
Arcane
plus-
Intellect, actually Hyped has less cards than Kalento, at least visually.
I don't think so. I think he has a couple more. From my end, at least.
Or sorry, the other way around, I mean. So that way he doesn't have to worry about drawing too deep into his deck at the moment. You're right. Kalento looks like he has less. Alex Straza is coming out and he's going for a win.
Well, your opponent only has one card in hand, so what is the chance he has Hex or that he will top deck a Hex?
Oh, if it was the other way around, Taunt Totem would be excellent, and he gets
Oh my
a
god,
Taunt
he gets
Totem.
it! Well, see, he still has a Polymorph and an Arcane Intellect, so Hype, there's a lot of ways to try to win this game.
Yep, he's got Polymorph, he's got ways to push through, he plays his Twilight Drake.
Which will be devastated by the Earth Shock.
Yeah, but it's a 4-3 anyways, it's not like you're holding your breath. Oh
Going
man,
to polymorph
if he polymorphs the Taunt Totem, he can push in for 8 damage, but I can't even begin to emphasize how important it was that he got this Taunt Totem.
Kalento needs something to pop the Ice Block, by the way. Fire Elemental. Wait. He can pop the Ice Block, and he's still safe next turn, by the way.
Well, until Hype draws a second Ice Block with Arcane Intellect, this is coming down to the wire.
This game is so intense. So many options. He has to kill the 4-3, right? He needs to Earth Shock it, and then attack into Jaina, and pop the Ice Block with Fire Elemental.
Well, he
And
also can kill Alex Straza here if he feels like he really is in danger of dying. Because if he leaves up Twilight Drake, what if Hyped has Fireball? Fireball plus Alex Straza and Hero Power is actually game for him.
True. And Hype has just so many cards. You have to make an assumption that there is a chance that the Fireball is actually a card in this Mage deck. Because how many times have you seen a Mage deck without Fireballs? Kalento needs to think, like, is there a chance that there is a Fireball? He's going for Alex Straza.
What's it gonna
kill?
be? He's gotta
Okay,
make a decision. He's gonna
face.
pop the Ice Block.
Playing to win. This is a play to win.
All right. He says you have to have the Fireball. Down to your last few cards.
Well, he
Hype
needs
is
an
looking
Ice
for a
Block,
second Ice Block. He's got 4 draws to do it.
and he
Second
gets
Ice
it.
Block has appeared.
You know what's funny? If Hype actually goes into fatigue, he'll die because if you get a fatigue damage, Ice Block actually doesn't prevent it because it's inactive in your turn.
Oh, you're right.
Can he draw more cards in here?
Hyped is playing the removal game, but
Oh my god! You know what? This Arcane Intellect might actually be a checkmate. He can't play it because then he gets fatigue damage and he dies.
I don't know how many cards are in his deck though, so it's still early to say.
It seems like 2. 2 or 3, I'd say. Like, no more than that. If there would be like... Oh my god, if he has 2 cards, he just can't play it. But even if he has 3 cards, it's still super risky because if Alex Straza is removed, you don't have a way to actually push with damage here. So you are still being... You're still being dead. Hype is counting everything right now. He's taking notes.
Oh my goodness, there's probably a web on a bulletin board where like there's a bunch of papers scattered and photographs of Colento and lines drawn everywhere trying to analyze it, go CSI Minority Report, but he says all I have to do is go to the face. I think that's his best chance to win in here. But he's gonna go for the trade instead.
Well, what else is he going to do? Like, he can't play Arcane Intellect.
Oh,
Flame
and
Tongue told
Colento
him-
draws the Flame Tongue Tunnel, so he gets the best of both worlds. He can kill off Alexstrasza and go for the Ice Block pop.
Oh my god, this is sick. And he even got a 1-1 totem, which will be pretty annoying. This is it.
I don't think there's a way for Hype to win from this position unless there is Deathwing. I don't think there is. He had Frost Nova. It was one of the cards that he was counting on.
Oh,
But any
Kern is
damage off the
specifically-
top from Colento is game.
Yeah, this is almost over. This is so close. Double Ice Block is out. Doesn't run Antonidas. Haunted Creeper
Nope.
is not the card. But still, Hype would need to top deck a
Oh,
Pyroblast.
the taunt totem.
Oh my god, so even the Pyroblast is not enough now. But he doesn't have a Pyroblast in his deck. This game is incredible. This is a fitting end to this incredible tournament, if it's in fact an end.
I wonder.
Colento needs one more turn to win. This Haunted Creeper is actually preventing a possible Blizzard or Flame Strike from clearing the board. Frodan,
I
this is
don't
one-
know what else is in Hype's deck. I think he has another duplicate.
I wonder.
Possibly.
And maybe one Frostbolt, but I don't think it's going to be enough to stave off all of this damage, because no matter what, there's going to be a minion with damage surviving.
Well,
Colento is really wondering if this is overextending.
I'm almost at
duplicate, so I guess you cast Arcane Intellect now. See what you get. And die from fatigue. There is only one card, I believe.
That's it. I believe that's going to be it. Mad Scientist was the last card, and Colento is the champion of VGVN Release Tournament number 2. And it is his first tournament win, as far as I'm concerned, on the books for a premier tournament. Congratulations. Hyped. He came in with a game plan, but unfortunately just dropped way too many games in the beginning of the series. The deck is not built in order to sweep a series. And Hyped will have to go home second place. Colento finishes the tournament 17 games won and 4 games lost. The most dominating performance possible in the tournament, considering everyone else, other than the semifinals with Hyped and Trump, was an incredibly close series.
This was a sick run, and I'm actually thrilled because both Colento and Hype, they are almost qualified for BlizzCon. They are seeded in top 16 in the upcoming qualifiers, so they will need only to win 2 matches to get the top 4 spot for the qualifier, and then, well, I'd love to see those players at BlizzCon fighting for the World Championship title. They definitely deserve it. They showed fantastic sportsmanship and preparation this tournament. Own builds, great decks, great matches, great decisions, and I'm so excited to see the future with those players in it. I feel like Hearthstone is really a great game. There's a lot of potential, a lot of skill involved, and I had a lot of fun for them. This was an amazing tournament.
We're not done yet. We want to talk a little bit about some of the upcoming stuff. If you see on the screen, VGVN number 3 will be back on September 12th. If you're watching and you want to enter the next tournament, there is an open qualifier bracket, completely free to anybody in EU and NA. All you have to do is sign up at liquidheart.com. It takes place next Sunday. Also, this is your last chance for this tournament to enter for your chance to win the Zeus Mini Cider Power PC. Just go to the link or type in giveaway in the chat and find out more information about how to win this computer hosted by VGVN and the organization that fights for video gamers' rights in America. Also, at the very end of the stream.
Yeah, I have an announcement to make as well. So the qualifier for the next VGVN tournament is next weekend. But the next VGVN tournament, the 3rd edition, is in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks from now, we will have the 3rd edition of the VGVN tournament. You can qualify for it next week, as Frodo mentioned. This will be an amazing tournament. We'll again see Colento and Hype because they qualified for it, being finalists of today's tournament. And we'll have 2 players who qualify and 4 players invited, and another amazing tournament to look forward to. And definitely tune in for that as well.
Cool, cool. I think the last thing we want to mention is that we'll be hosting Sixo, who will be doing his legendary rush in custom for the beginning of the season, right after the stream. The winner, Colento, will be doing an AMA on Liquid Heart too. So if you feel like you want to get some questions to Colento, make sure to check on the website and submit your questions for the EU Ladder God. That does it for us here at VGVN number 2 from Frodan Nimsh and the One Nations Gamer production crew. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.